Thanks for watching the house, Lynn. You're such a lifesaver. The text came with a photo of my sister Lexis lounging poolside at the Coral Bay Resort, her perfectly manicured nails wrapped around a cocktail that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. My name is Linda, and I was sitting in my parents' marble-clad kitchen, staring at their designer coffee machine I didn't know how to operate, wondering how I'd become the family's unpaid house-sitter while they lived it up in paradise. Seriously, though, I muttered to Princess, my parents' pampered white poodle, who was giving me judgmental looks from her custom bed. How did we get here? The answer, unfortunately, was a conversation from 3 weeks ago that still made my stomach churn. I'd been grading papers at my kitchen table, my actual kitchen table, the wobbly IKEA one with coffee stains, when Mom called. "Linda, darling, we need to talk." Her voice had that syrupy tone she used when she was about to deliver bad news wrapped in fake concern. "What's up, Mom?" "Well, the family's planning a little getaway to Coral Bay Resort. You know, the one featured in Architectural Digest. 5-star, absolutely divine." I'd felt a flutter of excitement. A family vacation sounded amazing. "That sounds incredible. When are we—" "Oh, sweetie." The pause stretched long enough for me to realize where this was heading. "We've been talking, and we think it might be better if you sat this one out." The words hit like a slap. "Excuse me?" "It's just that the resort is quite upscale, and we know how you feel about those kinds of places. Remember how uncomfortable you were at Lexis's engagement party at the country club? All those sideways looks when you showed up in that, what was it, Target dress? I'd loved that dress. It was navy blue, simple, elegant. Or so I'd thought. Mum, I can handle a nice resort." "Of course you can, darling, but think about the expense. The spa treatments, the fine dining, the shopping excursions. We'd hate for you to feel left out when you can't participate in everything." Dad's voice had boomed in the background. "Tell her about the house sitting. Right, we were hoping you could watch the house and take care of Princess. You know how she gets with strangers, and the house sitter we usually use is booked. It would be such a help." I'd sat there, phone pressed to my ear, watching my reflection in my laptop screen. 31 years old, college-educated, employed, responsible, and somehow still the family charity case. "How long is this trip?" "Just a week, maybe 10 days if we decide to extend. The weather's supposed to be perfect." "And everyone else is going? Lexis, Cade, even Scarlett?" Scarlett wasn't even family, just Mum's friend who'd somehow become a permanent fixture at family events. "Well, yes, Lexis is bringing her photographer for some content creation. You know how important her brand is. And Cade's been so stressed with his new business venture. He needs this." Cade's business venture was a cryptocurrency podcast with 12 subscribers. But sure. What about Naomi? My cousin was usually my only ally at family gatherings. Naomi's coming too, of course. She's family. The message was clear. Everyone was family except me. "I see. You understand, don't you, sweetheart? We're just looking out for you, protecting you from an uncomfortable situation." I'd wanted to scream. Instead, I'd heard myself saying, "Sure, Mum, I understand." "Wonderful. We'll drop Princess off tomorrow. The house key is in the usual spot. Oh, and Linda, this stays between us, okay? No need to make the others feel guilty about having a nice time." Now, 3 weeks later, I was living in their McMansion, sleeping in my childhood bedroom that had been converted into Mum's craft room, surrounded by half-finished scrapbooks and expensive art supplies she'd used exactly once. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was the family group chat, the one I was mysteriously never added to, but somehow received screenshots from. Cade had posted a video of himself jet skiing, captioned, "Living my best life, the your blessed vacation, hot Kelly family vibes." Then Lexis, sunset dinner at Maria. The lobster here is insane. As luxury, life, heart of family time. Even Scarlett had chimed in. So grateful to be included in this amazing family adventure. The Kellys know how to do it right. I screenshot the messages and sent them to my best friend Sarah with a single word. Really? She called immediately. Are you kidding me right now? Nope, they're posting their luxury vacation while I'm here cleaning their toilets and walking their dog. This is insane, Linda. Even for your family, this is next level cruel. I walked to the window, overlooking their perfectly manicured backyard. The worst part is, I actually believed Mom when she said it was for my own good, like I'm some kind of fragile flower who can't handle a nice hotel. You teach high school English. You deal with teenagers all day. You can handle anything. Apparently not a 5-star resort. Have you seen how much this place costs per night? I hadn't actually. Why? I looked it up. We're talking 15 grand minimum for a week, probably more with all their spa treatments and fancy dinners. $15,000. I made that in a month before taxes. Must be nice, I muttered. Linda, you need to stop letting them treat you like this. What am I supposed to do? They're my family. Family doesn't exclude you and then rub it in your face. After we hung up, I found myself wandering through their house, really looking at it for the first time. The marble countertops, the crystal chandeliers, the original artwork. Everything screamed money, money they claimed I wouldn't be comfortable around. Princess followed me, her little nails clicking on the hardwood floors. What do you think, Princess? Am I really that embarrassing? She tilted her head, and for a moment I could swear she looked sympathetic. My phone buzzed again. Another family photo, this one of all of them dressed up for dinner, glasses raised in a toast. The caption read, "To family, the people who matter most." I wasn't in the photo. I wasn't even in their thoughts. The house felt like a museum after 3 days alone. Every surface gleamed, every pillow sat perfectly arranged, and every family photo seemed to mock me from its expensive frame. I'd taken to eating cereal for dinner just to spite the fully stocked gourmet kitchen. "At least you appreciate me, right, Princess?" I said, scratching behind her ears as she curled up next to me on the forbidden white couch. My phone lit up with another notification. This time, it was a video call from the group chat. I could see the preview, all of them crowded around a phone screen, tropical drinks in hand, the ocean sparkling behind them. I declined the call. Immediately, my phone started ringing. "Mum, Linda, why didn't you answer the group call?" "I'm busy, house sitting, like you asked." "We wanted to show you the sunset. It's absolutely breathtaking here." "I'm sure it is." "You sound upset, darling. What's wrong?" I looked around at their palace, then down at my pyjama pants and oversized teaching conference t-shirt. "Nothing's wrong, Mom. Just tired." "Well, you should see the spa here. I had the most incredible massage today. And the food. Last night we had this 7-course tasting menu that was just Mom. And Lexi's got the most amazing content for her Instagram. The photographer she brought is just brilliant. He's been taking these stunning shots of all of us by the infinity pool." "Mum, I need to go." "Oh, of course. We're about to head to the casino anyway. Cade's feeling lucky tonight." After she hung up, I sat in their silent house, staring at the chandelier above the dining table, where I'd eaten exactly 0 meals growing up, because we always ate in the casual dining room. The formal one was for guests, important people. I wandered upstairs to Dad's home office, a room I'd barely been allowed in as a kid. His desk was massive, mahogany, covered with important-looking papers and expensive pens he probably never used. That's when I remembered. My emergency credit card. I'd given it to them 3 years ago, when Dad had some temporary cash flow issues with his business. "Just for emergencies," he'd said. "We'll never use it unless it's absolutely necessary." I kept it in my wallet, but I'd left a backup card here in Dad's desk drawer in case they ever needed it for a real emergency. I pulled open the drawer where I'd left it, behind his collection of Mont Blanc pens. Empty. I checked the other drawers. Nothing. Okay, that's weird, I muttered, trying to remember if I'd moved it somewhere else. My phone buzzed with a text from Lexis. OMG, the room service here is insane. We ordered champagne and strawberries for a midnight snack, living like queens. Then another from Cade. Just won $500 at blackjack. This vacation keeps getting better. I stared at the messages, something cold settling in my stomach. When was the last time I'd checked my credit card statements? I was usually obsessive about it, but I'd been so busy with end-of-semester grading. I grabbed my laptop and logged into my banking app, scrolling through recent transactions. Grocery store, gas station, Amazon order for classroom supplies, Netflix subscription. Then I saw it. Coral Bay Resort and Spa, 15 yen. Boy 783. The charge was from 4 days ago, the day they'd arrived. What the hell? I clicked on the transaction details, my hands shaking. The charge was definitely from the resort. The same resort where my family was currently living it up while I house-sat like some kind of unpaid servant. My phone rang. Sarah. Hey, how's the house-sitting going? Are you slowly going insane yet? Sarah, I think my family stole my credit card. What? I explained about the missing card and the charge. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Linda, that's not just stealing. That's fraud. That's a felony. It has to be a mistake. Maybe the resort mixed up the payment method or something. A $15,000 mistake? Come on. I was already pulling up the resort's website, looking for a contact number. I'll call them. There has to be an explanation. Linda, wait. Before you call, think about this. Your family excluded you from this vacation, made you feel like garbage about not being able to afford it, and then secretly used your money to pay for it. We don't know that's what happened, don't we? I hung up and immediately called the resort. Coral Bay Resort, this is Jerry speaking. How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling about a charge on my credit card, Linda Kelly. There's a charge for over $15,000 from 4 days ago, and I think there might be some mistake. Let me look that up for you. Can you provide the last 4 digits of the card? I gave him the information, my heart pounding. I see the charge here. This was for a premium ocean view suite, spa packages, dining credits, and activities for a party of 6. The reservation was made by Alexis Kelly. Are you related? She's my sister. The card was provided at check-in as the primary payment method for all charges during the stay. My vision blurred. All charges? Yes, Mum, any additional expenses during their stay will be charged to this card as well. I hung up without saying goodbye. They'd used my card, my emergency credit card that was supposed to be for actual emergencies. They'd used it to pay for their luxury vacation while telling me I couldn't come because I couldn't afford it. My phone buzzed again. Another family photo, this one of them all dressed up for some fancy dinner, champagne glasses raised. The caption read, "So blessed to be here with the people who matter most. Family, seid grateful, seid living your best life." I screenshot it and sent it to Sarah with a message. They're using my money to pay for the vacation I was too poor to attend. She called immediately. I'm coming over. Sarah, you don't need to. I'm coming over right now. Don't do anything until I get there. After she hung up, I sat in Dad's office chair, staring at the empty drawer where my credit card should have been. Princess wandered in and sat at my feet, looking up at me with those big, sympathetic eyes. They really did it, didn't they, Princess? They actually stole from me. She whined softly like she understood. My phone lit up with another notification. A fraud alert from my bank. Unusual spending pattern detected on your account. Please verify recent charges or call our fraud hotline immediately. Even my bank knew something was wrong. I was still staring at the alert when another text came through, this one from Mom. Having the most wonderful time. You would have loved the sunset tonight. Miss you. The audacity was breathtaking. Sarah arrived 20 minutes later with a bottle of wine and murder in her eyes. Show me everything, she said, not even bothering with hello. I pulled up my banking app on my laptop. Look at this, $15,000, and according to the resort, any additional charges go on my card too. Jesus Christ, Linda, this is insane. Sarah poured herself a glass of wine without asking. What did your parents say when you confronted them? I haven't confronted them yet. What? Why not? Because I wanted to be sure before I accused my own family of stealing from me. Sarah gave me a look. Honey, the evidence is right there. Your missing card, the charge, the timing. What more do you need? I was about to answer when my phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. Hey, cuz, hope you're doing okay house sitting. Family seems to be having a blast. Kinda wish I was home, though. This place is a bit much for me. Wait, I said, showing Sarah the text. Naomi's there too. She might know something. I called her immediately. Linda, how's Princess treating you? She's fine. Naomi, can I ask you something? How did everyone pay for this vacation? I mean, it's pretty expensive. There was a pause. I'm not really sure. I just paid my own way. Why? Did you see how Mum and Dad paid? Or Lexis? Actually, that's weird you mention it. I saw Lexis hand over a credit card at check-in, but she was being really secretive about it. Wouldn't let anyone see it. My stomach dropped. What do you mean secretive? She, covered it with her hand when she gave it to the front desk guy. And when Cade asked whose card it was, she just said, "Don't worry about it," and changed the subject. Sarah was making throat-slitting gestures at me. Naomi, this is going to sound crazy, but I think they used my credit card. What? No way! That's not possible. I'm looking at a $15,000 charge on my account right now, from your resort, from the day you guys checked in. Oh my God. Linda, are you serious? Dead serious? I need to think about this. Let me see what I can find out without being obvious about it. After we hung up, Sarah was pacing around the kitchen. This is fraud, Linda. Plain and simple. You need to call the police. They're my family. They're criminals. They stole $15,000 from you. Maybe there's an explanation. Stop! Sarah slammed her wineglass down. Stop making excuses for them. They excluded you from a family vacation, made you feel like garbage about your finances, and then secretly used your money to pay for it. There's no innocent explanation for that. I knew she was right, but the thought of calling the police on my own family made me sick. Let me see if I can find any other evidence first. I spent the next hour going through Dad's office more thoroughly. In his filing cabinet, I found a folder labelled Vacation Planning. Inside were printouts of the resort booking, activity reservations, spa appointments, everything planned and paid for with my card. But it was the text message screenshots that made my blood boil. There, printed out like some kind of trophy, was a conversation between Mom and Lexis from 2 weeks ago. Mom: Linda's card should cover everything. She never checks her statements anyway. Lexis: Are you sure? What if she finds out? Mom: She won't, and even if she does, what's she going to do? She needs us more than we need her. Lexis: True, plus we can always say it was an emergency or something. Mom: Exactly, she gave us the card for emergencies. This counts. Lexis: A mental health emergency. Perfect. We'll tell her the stress of planning was affecting our health. I read the messages 3 times, each time feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. Sarah, look at this. She read over my shoulder, her face getting redder with each line. I'm calling the police. Wait, I grabbed her arm. Let me try something first. I opened Instagram and searched for Lexis's account. Her latest post was from an hour ago, a video of her getting a massage at the resort spa, captioned, "Sometimes you just need to treat yourself. Life's too short not to live luxuriously. Thanks to my amazing family for making this possible. A blessed, luxury life. What's done, family first." The comments were full of people praising her success and asking how she could afford such an expensive vacation. Her response to one comment made me see red. "Hard work pays off. Unlike some people, I don't make excuses about money. I make it happen." "She's literally bragging about stealing my money," I said, showing Sarah the phone. "That's it. I'm done watching you get walked on." Sarah grabbed my laptop. "We're reporting this card stolen right now." "Sarah, wait. No, they want to play games? Let's play games." She was already pulling up my bank's website. "What's your login?" I hesitated for exactly 3 seconds before giving her my information. "Fraud reporting," she muttered, clicking through the menus. "Here, report unauthorized charges." Boom. "What are you doing?" "I'm reporting your card as stolen and disputing the charges," which is exactly what happened. "But they're still at the resort. If the bank freezes the card, then they'll have to figure out how to pay for their luxury vacation themselves, like adults." The form was surprisingly simple. Date of theft, amount of fraudulent charges, brief description of circumstances. Sarah typed, "Card was taken without permission and used to pay for vacation I was not invited on. Charges made by family members who had access to my home." "Sarah, I don't know about this." "Linda, they literally have text messages joking about stealing from you. They called you too poor to come on vacation and then used your money to pay for it. What exactly are you unsure about?" She was right. I knew she was right. "Submit it," I said quietly. She clicked the button. Done. The bank will freeze the card within the hour and start a fraud investigation. My phone immediately buzzed with a confirmation text from the bank. "We've received your fraud report. Your card has been temporarily suspended while we investigate. You will not be responsible for unauthorized charges." "What happens now?" I asked. Sarah smiled grimly. "Now we wait for the fireworks." As if on cue, my phone lit up with a new post from Cade. "About to hit the casino again, feeling lucky. This vacation just keeps getting better." "Oh," Sarah said, reading over my shoulder, "this is going to be good." I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined my family's faces when their card got declined. Part of me felt sick about it. The other part felt a dark satisfaction I'd never experienced before. Sarah had crashed on the couch, claiming she wanted to be there for the show. She was making coffee when my phone started buzzing at 7 a.m. "It's starting," she said, grinning. The first call was from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. "Linda, this is Jerry from Coral Bay Resort. We need to speak with you urgently regarding your account. Please call us back as soon as possible." The second call came 5 minutes later. Mum, "Linda, darling, we're having a small issue with the payment method here. Can you give us a call when you get this?" Her voice was tight, controlled, the voice she used when she was furious but trying to hide it. "Should I call her back?" I asked Sarah. "Absolutely not. Let them sweat." My phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. "Linda, something weird is happening. Lexis is freaking out about some payment issue. She's been on the phone with the front desk for an hour." Then another from Cade. "Yo sis, call Mom ASAP. Some drama going down here." I screenshot both messages and sent them to Sarah. "This is really happening." Good, they deserve every second of panic they're feeling right now. The resort called again. This time, I answered. "Miss Linda, this is Jerry from Coral Bay. We spoke yesterday about the charge on your card." "Yes, I remember. We're having some issues processing additional charges to your account. Your bank is saying the card has been reported as stolen." "That's correct. I reported it stolen yesterday." There was a pause. I see. Well, that puts us in a difficult position. Your family has incurred additional charges since check-in, and we need an alternative payment method immediately. What kind of additional charges? Spa services, room service, casino charges, shopping at our boutique. The total additional amount is currently $8,200 in 4 days. I understand your position, I said, but I can't help you. That card was stolen and used without my permission. Miss Linda, your family is saying this is a misunderstanding. They're asking if you could call them to sort this out. There's no misunderstanding. I did not authorize any charges on that card. Another pause. I see. Well, we'll need to speak with them about alternative payment arrangements then. After I hung up, Sarah was practically bouncing. How much did they spend? Over $8,000 in 4 days, on top of the original 15. Jesus, what do they think you are, a bank? My phone started ringing again. Mum? Don't answer it, Sarah said. I have to eventually. Not yet, let them panic a little more. Instead, I called Naomi. Linda, what the hell is going on? Lexis is having a complete meltdown. She's locked herself in the bathroom and won't come out. What's she saying? Something about the card being frozen and how this is all a huge mistake. Mum's trying to call you, but you're not answering. Dad's yelling at the resort manager. It's chaos. What about you? How are you paying for your stuff? I have my own card, remember? I'm fine. But Linda, they're saying you need to call the bank and fix this. They're acting like it's your fault somehow. My fault? Yeah, like you should have warned them or something. It's really weird. After we hung up, I stared at my phone. 23 missed calls from various family members, dozens of texts ranging from concerned to demanding to downright nasty. The latest one from Lexis made my jaw drop. Linda, I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to fix this right now. You're embarrassing our entire family. People are staring. This is humiliating. Look at this, I showed Sarah the text. The audacity. She steals your money and then blames you for the consequences. My phone rang again. This time, it was a group video call from the family chat. Answer it, Sarah said. I want to see their faces. I accepted the call. The screen filled with chaos. I could see Mom, Dad, Lexis, Cade and Scarlett all crowded around someone's phone. They looked frazzled, stressed and furious. Linda! Mum's voice was shrill. Thank God you answered. We need you to call your bank immediately and clear up this misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? The card being reported stolen. It's obviously a mistake. We're family. Actually, it's not a mistake. I reported it stolen because it was stolen. The silence was deafening. What are you talking about? Dad's voice boomed from off-screen. I'm talking about you taking my credit card without permission and using it to pay for a vacation you specifically excluded me from. Linda, sweetheart, Mum's voice took on that patronizing tone. We had permission. You gave us that card for emergencies. This wasn't an emergency. Of course it was. We needed a family bonding experience. The stress of planning was affecting our health. I couldn't help but laugh. You used the exact excuse from your text messages. What text messages? The ones I found in Dad's office. The ones where you and Lexis joke about me never checking my statements and how I need you more than you need me. The colour drained from Mum's face. Linda, Lexis jumped in. You're being ridiculous. It's just money. Family helps family. Family includes family in vacations. They don't steal from each other. We didn't steal anything, Cade shouted. You're being dramatic. $23,000, Cade. That's how much you've spent on my card. It's not that much. It's more than I make in a month. Suddenly, I could see someone in a uniform approaching them in the background. Hotel security. Folks, we need to resolve this payment issue now, a man's voice said off camera. Linda? Mum's voice was desperate now. Please, just call the bank. Tell them it was a mistake. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, no. You made your choice when you excluded me from this vacation. You made your choice when you took my card without asking. You made your choice when you spent $23,000 of my money while telling me I was too poor to come with you. Linda, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. You want to act like I'm not family. Fine, handle your own problems. Sally, if you don't fix this right now, Mum's voice turned cold, you're going to regret it. We're your family. We can make your life very difficult. More difficult than it already is. You've spent years making me feel like I'm not good enough for this family. Well, congratulations. You finally convinced me. I could see the security guard getting closer. Linda, please, Lexis started. I hung up and immediately blocked all their numbers. Holy shit, Sarah said. That was incredible. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter somehow. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. What happens now? I asked. Now they figure out how to pay for their own vacation, like adults. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, probably one of them using someone else's phone. But it was from Naomi. Linda, I saw everything. I'm so sorry. I had no idea they were using your money. This is so messed up. At least someone in my family had a conscience. Thanks, I texted back. How bad is it there? Bad. Security is talking to them now. I think they might have to leave. Perfect. 2 hours later, my phone rang from another unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Linda, thank God. It was Scarlett, her voice panicked. You have to help us. They're threatening to call the police. Who's threatening to call the police? The resort. They say if we don't pay immediately, they're going to have us arrested for fraud. I put the phone on speaker so Sarah could hear. That sounds like a problem you need to solve, Scarlett. Linda, please. I didn't know they were using your card. I thought they were paying for everything themselves. Then why are you calling me? Because they said you could fix this. Just call your bank and tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. But Linda, Scarlett, you're not even family. Why are you involved in this? There was a pause. Your mum said. She said if I helped convince you, they'd pay for my part of the trip too. Of course they did. Well, good luck with that. I hung up and immediately got another call from yet another unknown number. Linda! Cade's voice was frantic. Dude, you have to fix this. They're making us pack our bags. Good. What do you mean, good? This is insane. We're your family. Family doesn't steal from each other, Cade. We didn't steal. We borrowed. Without asking. That's called stealing. Look, I'll pay you back, okay? Just call the bank. With what money? Your podcast doesn't make any money. I'll figure it out. Come on, Linda, don't be like this. Don't be like what? Don't be upset that you spent my rent money on casino chips. It wasn't that much. $8,000 at the casino, Cade. 8,000. The line went quiet. How do you know that? The resort told me. Every charge goes to my card, remember? Shit. Linda, I'm sorry, okay? I got carried away, but you can afford it. You don't have kids or a mortgage or anything. I don't have kids because I can't afford them. I don't have a mortgage because I can't afford one. And now I definitely can't afford anything because you spent $23,000 of my money. Linda, please. I hung up. Sarah was recording everything on her phone. This is better than reality TV. My phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. They're in the lobby with security now. It's really bad. Lexis is crying. Your dad is yelling at everyone. People are taking pictures. People are taking pictures? Another text. Yeah, other guests. Someone recognized Lexis from Instagram. This is going to be all over social media. I couldn't help but smile. Lexis lived for social media attention, just not this kind. My phone rang again. This time, It was a video call from an unknown number. "Don't answer it," Sarah said. "I want to see what's happening." I accepted the call. The screen showed chaos in what looked like the resort lobby. I could see my entire family huddled together, surrounded by luggage, while a man in a suit, presumably Jerry, the manager, stood nearby with 2 security guards. "Linda!" Mum's face appeared on screen, tear-streaked and desperate. "You have to help us. They're treating us like criminals." "You are criminals. You committed credit card fraud." "Oh, we're your family." Family doesn't exclude each other from vacations and then steal their money to pay for it. Jerry stepped into view. "Miss Linda, this is Jerry from the resort. I need to inform you that if this payment issue isn't resolved in the next 30 minutes, we'll have no choice but to involve local authorities." "I understand. That's between you and them. But they're claiming you authorized these charges." I absolutely did not. I've already filed a fraud report with my bank. You have the documentation." "Yes, we do. Thank you for clarifying." Jerry stepped away, and suddenly Dad's face filled the screen, red with anger. "Linda, you stop this nonsense right now. You're embarrassing this entire family." "I'm embarrassing the family. You stole $23,000 from me." "We didn't steal anything. That money was just sitting in your account doing nothing." "It was my emergency fund." "Well, this is an emergency." "An emergency you created by excluding me and then stealing from me." Lexis pushed Dad aside, her makeup running down her face. "Linda, I'm begging you. My followers are here. People are recording this. You're ruining my brand." "Your brand? Your brand is built on stolen money." "It's not stolen. We're family." "Then why didn't you ask permission?" "Because," she faltered, "because you knew I'd say no. Because you knew this was wrong." "Linda," Mum's voice was getting shrill, "if you don't fix this right now, you're out of this family. Do you hear me? Out." "Good. I never felt like I was in it anyway." "You'll regret this. When you need us, we won't be there." "When have you ever been there for me?" The silence stretched long enough that I could hear other resort guests murmuring in the background. "We raised you," Dad shouted. "You raised me to be your backup plan, your emergency fund, your house sitter. Well, congratulations, you finally pushed me too far." I could see Jerry approaching them again with the security guards. "Folks, time's up. We need a resolution now." "Linda," Lexis screamed, please. Figure it out yourselves." I hung up and immediately blocked that number too. Sarah was staring at me with something like awe. I have never seen anything like that in my life. "I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe you didn't do it sooner." My phone buzzed with a text from Naomi. "Holy shit, Linda. They're being escorted out by security. Lexis is having a complete breakdown. People are definitely filming this." Then another. "Your mum just screamed, 'This is all Linda's fault,' loud enough for the whole lobby to hear." And another. "I'm staying. I paid my own way and I'm not involved in this mess. But Linda, I think you did the right thing." I screenshot Naomi's messages and sent them to Sarah. "Your cousin seems cool. She's the only one with any sense." My phone rang one more time, another unknown number. "Don't answer it," Sarah said. But I was curious. I picked up. "Linda?" It was a voice I didn't recognize. "This is Channel 7 News. We understand there was an incident at Coral Bay Resort involving your family. Would you like to comment?" I hung up immediately. "Oh shit," Sarah said. "It's going public." "What do you mean?" "Someone must have posted the videos online. If the news is calling you." She was already pulling up social media on her phone. "Look at this." She showed me a TikTok video titled, "Entitled Family Gets Kicked Out of Luxury Resort." It had been posted 20 minutes ago and already had 50,000 views. The video showed my family being escorted through the lobby by security, Lexis sobbing dramatically, Mom shouting about how this was all a misunderstanding. The comments were brutal. This is what happens when you live beyond your means. The entitlement is unreal. That girl crying is a whole mood, but not in a good way. I would die of embarrassment. Linda, Sarah said quietly, I think you just won. By Monday morning, the videos had gone viral. Sarah showed me the numbers over coffee. 3 million views across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Someone had even made it into a meme. Look at this one, she said, showing me her phone. It's Lexis crying with the caption, when you realise other people's money runs out. I was scrolling through the comments when my phone rang. My principal, Mrs. Rodriguez. Linda, I need you to come in early today. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Is everything okay? Just come in. My office, 7:30. She hung up without explanation. Shit, I said to Sarah. This is about the videos, isn't it? Maybe not. Maybe it's something else. But we both knew it wasn't. I got to school 45 minutes early, my hands shaking as I walked to the main office. Mrs. Rodriguez was waiting with a cup of coffee and a grim expression. Sit down, Linda. I sat. I got a very interesting phone call this weekend from your mother. Of course she did. She's claiming you committed credit card fraud and that you're under investigation by the police. That's not true. She also said you've been stealing from your family for years and that you're mentally unstable. None of that is true. Mrs. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair. I figured as much. Your mother was very dramatic. But Linda, there are videos all over social media. Students are talking about it. Parents are asking questions. I can explain. I don't need you to explain. I need you to understand that this is a problem. The school board is concerned about negative publicity. Are you firing me? No, but you're going to take a few days off while this blows over. Paid leave. Let the internet find something else to obsess over. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Linda, off the record, your family sounds like a nightmare. But on the record, you need to be careful. This kind of attention can follow you. I was walking to my car when my phone rang. Unknown number. Linda, this is Detective Martinez with the County Sheriff's Office. We need to speak with you about a fraud complaint that was filed against you. My blood turned to ice. A fraud complaint? Yes, ma'am. Can you come to the station this afternoon? Am I under arrest? No, ma'am. We just need to get your side of the story. After I hung up, I called Sarah immediately. They filed a police report against me. What? Those bastards? I have to go to the police station this afternoon. I'm coming with you, and we're bringing every piece of evidence we have. I spent the morning gathering everything, the printed text messages, bank statements, the resort confirmation emails, screenshots of my family's social media posts bragging about the vacation. By the time Sarah picked me up, I had a folder thick with documentation. Detective Martinez was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Miss Linda, I understand your family filed a complaint claiming you falsely reported your credit card as stolen. That's correct. And they're saying you gave them permission to use the card? I did not. I laid out everything, the excluded invitation, the missing card, the secret text messages, the charges I never authorized. Detective Martinez read through the text messages twice. These are from your mother and sister? Yes, I found them printed out in my father's office. Oh, and you have proof you were excluded from this vacation. I showed him screenshots of the family group chat, the posts about the vacation I wasn't invited to, Lexis's Instagram stories bragging about the trip. Miss Linda, this is pretty clear cut. You were the victim of credit card fraud. So I'm not in trouble? No, Mum. In fact, I'll be recommending charges against your family members. Charges? Credit card fraud? Identity theft, possibly conspiracy. This is serious stuff. I felt dizzy. I don't want to press charges. I just wanted my money back. I understand, but the state might press charges anyway. This is a felony. When I got home, Naomi was sitting on my parents' front porch. Linda, thank God, I've been trying to reach you all day. What are you doing here? I thought you were still at the resort. I flew home this morning. I couldn't stay after everything. We went inside and Naomi immediately started talking. Linda, it was so much worse after you hung up. They had to call their friends to wire money just to pay the hotel bill. Your dad was screaming at everyone. Lexis locked herself in the bathroom for 3 hours. How did they finally pay? Mum had to call her sister in California and beg for a loan. It was humiliating. Good. But Linda, they're not done. They're telling everyone you're mentally ill. They're saying you've been stealing from them for years and that this was revenge. The detective already told me they filed a police report. They did more than that. They called your school, your landlord, even some of your friends. They're trying to destroy your reputation. My phone buzzed with a text from my landlord. Linda, I received a concerning call about you. Please call me when you get this. Then another from my friend Jessica. Hey, your mum called me asking weird questions about your mental health. What's going on? They're trying to ruin my life, I said, showing Naomi the texts. I know. And Linda, there's something else. What? I recorded some of their conversations after you hung up, when they thought no one was listening. She pulled out her phone and played a recording. I could hear Mum's voice clearly. This is all Linda's fault. She's always been jealous of us. We need to make sure everyone knows she's unstable. Then Lexis. We should say she's been stealing from us for years. Make her look like the bad guy. And Dad? I'll call her work, her friends, everyone. By the time we're done, no one will believe her side. They planned this, I said, staring at the phone. They planned all of it. The vacation, using your card, and now destroying your reputation. Naomi, why are you showing me this? Because it's wrong. Because I've watched them treat you like garbage your whole life, and I'm tired of staying quiet. What do you want me to do with this? Whatever you want. But Linda, you have proof now. Proof that they're lying about everything. I looked at the recording, then at all the evidence spread across the coffee table. I want to call Detective Martinez. Good. And Naomi, thank you, for finally standing up for me. I should have done it years ago. As I dialed the detective's number, I realized something had shifted. I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was fighting back. And this time, I had ammunition. Detective Martinez listened to Naomi's recording 3 times before speaking. This changes everything. They're not just guilty of fraud, they're actively trying to obstruct justice by discrediting the victim. What happens now? I asked. Now we bring them in for questioning, all of them. Even Scarlett? If she was part of the conspiracy, yes. My phone had been buzzing non-stop with calls from unknown numbers. Finally, I answered one. Linda, this is Mum. We need to talk. Through lawyers? Don't be ridiculous. We're family. We can work this out. You called my boss and told her I was mentally ill. We're worried about you. This behaviour isn't normal. What behaviour? Standing up for myself? Destroying your family over money. It's sick. I put the phone on speaker so Naomi could hear. Mum, I have recordings of you planning to ruin my reputation. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I have you on tape saying this is all my fault and that you need to make everyone think I'm unstable. That's taken out of context. What context makes that okay? Linda, you're being manipulated. Someone is turning you against your family. The only person who manipulated me was you for 31 years. We gave you everything. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. You gave me scraps and made me grateful for them. You excluded me from family events, made me feel worthless, and then stole my money when you thought I wouldn't fight back. We didn't steal anything. $23,000, Mum. That's what you stole. It's just money. It's my money. Money I saved by living in a tiny apartment and driving a 10-year-old car while you lived in your mansion and judged me for not being successful enough. Linda, please. No, I'm done. The police have everything. The recordings, the text messages, the bank records. You want to destroy my reputation? Go ahead, but I'm taking you down with me. I hung up and immediately blocked the number. Holy shit, Naomi said. I've never heard you talk to her like that. I've never been this angry before. My phone rang again. This time it was Lexis, calling from yet another unknown number. Linda, please, you have to stop this. The police called. They want to question me. Good. This is insane. It's just money. I'll pay you back. With what? Your Instagram sponsorships? Your fake lifestyle that's built on other people's money? It's not fake. Really? Because I looked up your engagement. The ring was rented. The venue was comped in exchange for posts. Even your dress was borrowed. How do you... I did my research, Lexis. Your whole life is fake. You're just jealous. Of what? Your credit card debt, your fake friends, your complete lack of integrity. I have a brand. I have followers. You have nothing, and after those videos went viral, you'll have even less. Linda, please, I'm begging you, call off the police. I can't call them off. They're doing their job. But I'm your sister. Sisters don't steal from each other. Sisters don't exclude each other from family vacations. Sisters don't try to destroy each other's lives when they get caught. I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You planned all of it. The vacation, the theft, the cover-up. I have recordings, Lexis. The line went quiet. What recordings? Naomi recorded you and Mom planning to destroy my reputation, planning to call my work and my friends and make them think I'm crazy. Naomi did what? She finally grew a spine and did the right thing. That little bitch. Don't you dare blame Naomi for your problems. She's the only one in this family with any decency left. Linda, I'm sorry, okay? I'm really sorry. Just please make this stop. It's too late for sorry. What do you want? Money? I'll get you the money. I want you to face the consequences of your actions. But the police should have been called years ago. Linda, please. I hung up. Within an hour, Cade called. Dude, what the hell? The cops want to talk to me too. Then talk to them. I didn't do anything. You spent $8,000 of my money at a casino. I was going to pay you back. When? With what money? I would have figured it out. Cade, you're 28 years old and you've never held a job for more than 6 months. Your podcast has 12 subscribers. What exactly were you going to pay me back with? I don't know, but I would have. No, you wouldn't have. You would have pretended it never happened, just like you always do. This is going to ruin my life. Good. Maybe it's time you learned that actions have consequences. Linda, come on, we're family. Family doesn't steal from family. It was just money. It was my money, money I needed, money I saved by living like a monk while you all lived like kings. We didn't know. You didn't care. There's a difference. Linda, please. No, I'm done protecting all of you from yourselves. I'm done being your safety net. I'm done being the family scapegoat. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're on your own, all of you. I hung up and turned to Naomi. How do you feel? She asked. Exhausted, but also free. They're going to keep calling. Let them. I'm not answering. They might show up here. Then I'll call the police. Linda, are you sure about this? Once you go down this road, there's no going back. I looked around my parents' house, the house I'd been cleaning and maintaining while they vacationed on my money. The house where I'd never felt welcome. The house full of family photos that rarely included me. I've been trying to go back my whole life, Naomi. Back to a family that never wanted me in the first place. I'm tired of begging for scraps from people who see me as less than. So what now? Now I let the police do their job, and I start building a life that doesn't revolve around trying to earn love from people who are incapable of giving it. My phone buzzed with a text from Detective Martinez. We've scheduled interviews with all family members for tomorrow. Thank you for your cooperation. I showed Naomi the text. It's really happening, she said. Yeah, it is. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The police interviews happened on a Tuesday. I wasn't allowed to watch, but Detective Martinez called me afterward. Your family lawyered up fast, he said, but the evidence is overwhelming. The district attorney is moving forward with charges. What kind of charges? Credit card fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud. Your brother's looking at additional charges for the casino spending. What happens now? Now they face the consequences. That evening, Naomi and I were packing up my parents' house when someone started pounding on the front door. Linda, open this door right now! Dad's voice boomed through the wood. Don't answer it, Naomi whispered. The pounding continued. I know you're in there. We need to talk. I called 911. This is Linda. I need police at 1247 Maple Drive. My family is harassing me and I have a restraining order pending. Officers are on the way. The pounding stopped. Through the window I could see Dad, Mom and Lexis huddled by their car, arguing in heated whispers. When the police arrived, Officer Chen, wait, that's not right. Officer Williams approached the door. Miss Linda, we got your call. I explained the situation. He walked over to my family and had a brief conversation. I couldn't hear what was said, but I saw Dad's face turn red and Mum start crying. Officer Williams came back to the door. They're leaving now, but ma'am, you might want to consider that restraining order sooner rather than later. I will. After the police left, my phone started buzzing with texts from unknown numbers, all from my family using different phones. Mum, you've destroyed this family. I hope you're happy. Lexis, everyone knows what you did. You'll never live this down. Cade, thanks for ruining my life over money, sis. Dad, you're no daughter of mine. I screenshot all of them and sent them to Detective Martinez. His response was immediate. This constitutes witness intimidation. Forwarding to DA. The next morning, Sarah brought coffee and newspapers. You made the local paper, she said, spreading it on the kitchen table. The headline read, Local family charged in credit card fraud scheme. There was a photo of Lexis from her Instagram, looking glamorous and fake. Listen to this, Sarah said, reading aloud. The victim's own daughter reported the theft after discovering her family had excluded her from the vacation they were secretly charging to her credit card. Victim? That's weird to read. Why? I've never thought of myself as a victim before. Linda, you've been a victim your whole life. You just finally did something about it. My phone rang. Jerry from the resort. Miss Linda, I wanted to update you on the situation. Your family's been banned from all our properties permanently. Okay. Augie also, we've recovered some additional evidence. Security footage of your sister explicitly instructing staff to charge everything to Linda's card. We're forwarding it to the police. Thank you. Mom, I've been in hospitality for 20 years. I've never seen anything like what your family did. I'm sorry you had to go through that. After he hung up, I realized something had shifted. People were treating me with respect, like I mattered. Naomi walked into the kitchen carrying Princess. I talked to my mom, she said. She wants you to know that not everyone in the family agrees with what they did. Your mum barely talks to me. She said she's ashamed she didn't speak up sooner. She's seen how they treated you at family gatherings. And she wants to invite you to Thanksgiving this year, just our side of the family. I stared at her. Really? Really, she said it's time someone in this family treated you like you belong. My phone buzzed with a call from Mrs. Rodriguez. Linda, you can come back to work tomorrow. The school board reviewed everything and cleared you completely. What about the rumours? What rumours? Everyone's seen the news. You're the victim here, not the perpetrator. Your students have been asking about you. They have. They're proud of you for standing up for yourself. Apparently, you're trending on TikTok as the teacher who fought back. When I returned to school, something amazing happened. My students treated me like a hero. Miss Linda, Ashley ran up to me before first period. We saw the videos. You totally owned your family. Ashley, that's not really. No, seriously, my mum said you did exactly what she would have done. She said your family sounds awful. Other students chimed in. My dad said $23,000 is like a whole car. I can't believe they excluded you and then used your money. You're like famous now. During lunch, my colleague Janet sat down next to me. Linda, I owe you an apology. For what? I always thought you were just quiet, withdrawn. I didn't realize you were dealing with family abuse. It wasn't abuse. Linda, what they did to you was absolutely abuse. Financial abuse, emotional abuse, psychological manipulation. I'm glad you finally fought back. That afternoon, Detective Martinez called with an update. Your mother and sister pled guilty to avoid trial. They're getting probation and have to pay full restitution plus penalties. What about Cade and Dad? Your brother's going to trial. The casino charges make his case more serious. Your father, his lawyer's trying to work out a plea deal. And Scarlett? Charges dropped. She cooperated fully and provided additional evidence against your family. What kind of evidence? Text messages where your sister bragged about using Linda's emergency fund for emergencies that were actually fun. Even Scarlett had turned on them. That evening, I was grading papers when Naomi knocked on the door. I have something for you, she said, holding out an envelope. Inside was a check for $25,000. What is this? Restitution plus interest and penalties. The court ordered it. I stared at the check. More money than I'd ever seen at once. Naomi, what am I supposed to do with this? Whatever you want. It's yours. It was always yours. I was thinking, maybe I could put a down payment on a house. That sounds perfect. And maybe I could host Thanksgiving this year, in my own place. I'd love that. As Naomi left, I looked around my tiny apartment. For the first time in my life, it felt like home. Not because it was fancy or impressive, but because it was mine. Earned with my own money, filled with my own things, shared with people who actually wanted to be there. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. It was from Lexis. I'm sorry. Just 2 words. No explanation, no excuses, no manipulation. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Some apologies come too late. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. And sometimes that's exactly how it should be. Princess, who I'd somehow ended up keeping after my parents couldn't afford her care anymore, jumped onto my lap and settled in for the evening. What do you think, Princess? Ready to start over? She licked my hand, and I took that as a yes. Outside, it started to rain, but inside, everything felt warm and bright, and finally mine.
Hi, I'm Camilla, 30 years old, and I've been married to Patrick for 3 years. We don't have children yet, Our lives took a significant turn after the sudden passing of Patrick's father, Jesse. At the time, we were living in another state, and the news of Jess's unexpected heart attack hit us hard. During the funeral, Patrick's uncle subtly suggested that as the youngest and only son, Patrick should return home to be closer to family and support his mother. A few months later, Patrick told me that he had arranged a job transfer to be closer to his family home. He made the decision on his own and only informed me afterward, which really upset me. A decision that should have involved both of us. When I confronted him, Patrick apologized, explaining that he had expected me to resist the idea. He knew that I didn't get along well with his mother, Mary, a feeling that was mutual. When we lived farther away, our visits to his parents were mostly limited to extended holidays, partly due to our work schedules. Mary often complained about how infrequent our visits were, comparing us to Patrick's sisters Amanda and Diane, who lived nearby and visited frequently. Patrick always defended our situation, but the tension between Mary and me was never far from the surface. One of Mary's main issues with me was our lack of children. During a summer visit, she once openly questioned why we didn't have any yet, going so far as to compare me unfavorably to her daughters, who also didn't have kids. Her outdated views and intrusive comments about motherhood always grated on me. Still, when Mary's health began to decline, even Patrick grew more concerned, which played a big role in our recent decision to move closer to her. With Patrick now back home and me having quit my job, I dreaded the increased interaction with Mary. I even considered letting Patrick move back on his own, especially after hearing a friend's horror story about her husband's infidelity during a business trip. But after much thought, I decided to move with him. After all, we wouldn't be living with his mother full-time. Surprisingly, Mary seemed genuinely pleased with my decision. 3 weeks later, Mary invited me over for tea, something I had never accepted before. Reluctantly, I agreed. When I arrived at my in-laws' house, Mary and Amanda were both there to greet me. Amanda wasted no time with her snark. "Pamela, it's been so long. Why haven't you visited since moving here?" she asked, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Internally, I was already regretting coming. Mary, however, seemed oddly cheerful. "I was so happy when you decided to move closer," she said. "But it seems I was wrong. You don't like me, do you?" For a brief moment, I was tempted to confirm her suspicion just to see her reaction, but I held my tongue. "I don't dislike you, Mary," I said, forcing a polite smile. "I've just been feeling unwell, adjusting to the move. The new environment has been tiring," I explained, which was partly true. I'd been resting at home due to fatigue, and Patrick hadn't even mentioned this visit. Why was I here today, only to endure their harsh words? Mary quickly accused me of disliking her. But wasn't it the other way around? How were we supposed to get along under these conditions? Amanda cut in sharply. "How can you speak to your mother-in-law like that? Apologize to her. Say you're sorry." I braced myself for Mary's anger, but her response caught me off guard. "You're right," she said, her voice unexpectedly soft. "I have been mean. I'm sorry, Pamela. And I'm also sorry about the comments I made about children. I was being nosy." I was stunned. I had expected a lecture, perhaps some hidden sarcasm, but there was none. Even Amanda looked surprised. "All I ever wanted was to hold a grandchild," Mary confessed quietly. She went on to explain that Amanda's husband was infertile, and Diane seemed to be having fertility issues as well. So she had placed her hopes on Patrick and me. Even though I knew about Amanda and Diane's struggles, Patrick and I had our own conversations about children. We were considering it, but it wasn't a decision to be rushed. "Please just give us some time," I replied, bowing my head slightly. Despite everything, I still felt a sense of duty. "I'm sorry," I added, "but do visit us sometime." With that, the tension seemed to dissolve. Mary and Amanda resumed watching TV, sipping their tea as if nothing had happened. "I like this announcer," Mary remarked about a local TV personality. "She's so energetic and bright." Watching them together, I felt a pang of regret. Maybe if I had been more outgoing, things could have been different with Mary and her family. It was a fleeting, somewhat naive thought, but I was relieved to have expressed my feelings earlier. Maybe this could lead to a better relationship between us, I hoped. But that hope didn't last long. Later that evening, Patrick came home, visibly upset. "Mom told me you said you have no intention of getting along," he said, his voice laced with anger. "She was crying, Pamela. What did you say to her?" I was taken aback. "Just a few hours ago," He had left with a smile, and now he was accusing me of something completely different. Patrick, there's been a misunderstanding, I began, trying to stay calm. I told her it's difficult for me to be friends with her given how things have been between us, but I never said I didn't want to get along. He didn't seem convinced. His earlier smile now felt like a distant memory, replaced by doubt. I felt a wave of fear. He fully believed Mary's twisted version of the story. I tried to explain further, but he wasn't listening. Then my phone buzzed with a message from Amanda. After all the effort of moving here, weren't you prepared to make it work? If you're here with us, you need to be a bit more patient. Patrick glanced at me, his expression mirroring Amanda's words. I suddenly felt very alone. I moved here because I wanted to be with Patrick, not to appease Mary and Amanda. I looked him in the eye and said, "It's clear that Mary and the others might never approve of me. Maybe you should consider someone she likes more." The word divorce slipped out before I could stop it, and for the first time, Patrick looked genuinely alarmed. "Wait, hold on. How did we jump to divorce?" he asked, bewildered by the sudden turn. "I just want you to get along better with my family." He couldn't seem to grasp that his family might never truly accept me, which left me feeling equally baffled. But Patrick seemed determined to resolve the misunderstanding. The next day, he came home late from work and told me about his conversation with his mother. She had admitted that there was a misunderstanding and even apologized. "What a fuss," Patrick said, as if it were all behind us. Then, as if on a completely different note, he mentioned that Mary's birthday was coming up. "How about we celebrate her birthday at a fancy restaurant?" The sudden shift from turmoil to talks of a birthday celebration left me confused. But it was clear that Patrick was making an effort to mend things, even if the path forward seemed rocky. Patrick suggested that if we framed the birthday dinner as my idea, it might help shift Mary's perception of me in a positive direction. I was skeptical, given Mary's complex personality, but I agreed to make the reservation. I invited Amanda and the rest of the family, booking a table for 8. Patrick was on board, but as the day approached, an uneasy feeling grew inside me. Patrick had been distant lately, his responses to my attempts at conversation curt and indifferent. I felt more isolated with each passing day. The night of the dinner arrived, and we walked into the restaurant to find Mary, Amanda, and their spouses already seated. The host showed Patrick and me to our table, casting a curious glance in our direction, adding to my discomfort. "Happy birthday, Mary," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I greeted Mary cheerfully, trying to bridge the gap. However, she didn't even acknowledge me, instead turning to the others and thanking them for joining her celebration. It felt like a deliberate snub. Amanda glanced at me, her brow furrowed in confusion. "I thought today was a family gathering," she remarked, her brief, puzzled look leaving me uneasy. Diane, sensing the tension, glanced over with concern, making it clear that I was being deliberately excluded. Determined not to let it ruin my evening, I decided to quietly keep to myself and leave early. But just as I settled on this plan, a staff member approached our table with a slightly awkward expression. "I'm sorry, but the reservation was actually made for 7 people tonight," he informed us. Confused, I responded, "I distinctly remember reserving for 8. Could there be a mistake?" "No, it was definitely changed to 7, the staff member replied, recalling my original reservation. "But about a week ago, we received a call from a gentleman asking to reduce the number." Stunned, I turned to Patrick for an explanation. His response floored me. "Yes, service for 7 is fine. Everyone's here now," he stated plainly, confirming that he had made the change himself. In that moment, I felt a wave of betrayal and disbelief. Patrick's actions made it clear that despite his claims of wanting to smooth things over, his commitment was superficial at best. The realization that he had manipulated the situation without telling me cast a dark shadow over what was supposed to be a festive family gathering. I stood there, stunned. Patrick turned to me with a glare, and I braced myself. "I heard from Mom that you've been undermining our family, saying I don't earn enough, and that I'm insensitive. You had a lot to say, huh?" It turned out that a week ago, when Patrick contacted Mary about the dinner reservation, she had filled his ears with all sorts of falsehoods. Blinded by anger and believing her without question, he had called the restaurant, pretending to be me, and reduced the reservation from 8 to 7. Since the staff recognized the family name, they didn't question the change. I couldn't believe how easily Patrick had been misled. The realization hit hard. His loyalty had wavered, and it seemed like I was the only one trying to salvage something real in this tangled web of family drama. I questioned my presence there as frustration boiled over. When I confronted Patrick, demanding that he apologize to everyone and reflect on his actions, he did something unexpected. He insisted that I should apologize to my in-laws and go home alone to think things over. Naturally, I refused. I couldn't apologize for things I hadn't said, nor did I need a husband who took his mother's word over mine. Tears of frustration welled up in my eyes. Why had I even followed him here? Seeing my distress, Patrick began to panic, but it was too late. Mary, observing the scene, wore a smug smile, clearly pleased with the chaos she had stirred. I spoke coldly to Patrick. Next time, marry a younger, more docile daughter-in-law. Maybe then you'll have the children and happiness you want. Mary's response came sharp and cutting. Pamela, why don't you go back to your parents' house? A daughter-in-law is ultimately an outsider. I can't see you as part of this family. You're not charming at all, so please leave, quickly. Her words stung, but they also solidified my resolve. I didn't need to be told twice. I'm leaving, with or without your approval. Good luck finding someone who can actually get along with someone as twisted as you, I retorted, turning on my heel to walk out of the restaurant. Patrick stayed silent, his head buried in his hands. As I neared the exit, I heard someone calling my name. It was Diane and her husband. Pamela, wait, Diane called out, her voice strained with distress. I can't stand it anymore. Mom and Amanda, they haven't changed at all. I knew the gossip about you was false. Her words, a rare acknowledgement of truth amidst all the chaos, gave me a flicker of solace. Diane continued, making it clear that she was ready to cut ties with the toxic environment. It was a small gesture of solidarity, but in that moment, it was something I desperately needed. As I stood there, processing her words, my phone buzzed. Mary's name flashed on the screen, and I sighed. What now? But before I could answer, Patrick's name appeared instead. Muttering under my breath, I glanced at Diane and her husband, who exchanged knowing looks. Pamela, you might want to go back to the restaurant, Diane said, her eyes glinting with something I couldn't quite place. You might see something interesting. They left, looking oddly pleased with themselves. I hesitated, but curiosity tugged at me, overpowering my desire to distance myself from the drama. Reluctantly, I turned back toward the restaurant, wondering what twist lay ahead. When I finally answered Patrick's frantic call, his voice was laced with panic. Pamela, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was all a lie. I'll send the divorce papers later, he blurted out, but then quickly added, almost pleading, wait, can't you come back? Please, it's a lifetime request. His almost childish plea might have made me laugh if not for Diane's cryptic hint lingering in my mind. Against my better judgment, I decided to return to the restaurant. When I arrived, I was met with an unexpected scene. A crowd had gathered around Patrick's table where a local TV announcer, Mary's favorite, was speaking into a microphone. The atmosphere crackled with tension. Mary was stumbling over her words, clearly flustered as she tried to explain herself. No, that's not it. It's a misunderstanding, she stammered. Patrick and Amanda sat awkwardly, looking completely unprepared for the spectacle unfolding before them. The announcer, relentless, pressed Mary further. You loudly declared that Pamela is an outsider and should leave. Could you explain what you meant by that, in detail? Meanwhile, Diane's husband, along with others who had been offended earlier, had quietly slipped away from the scene. I stood there, dumbfounded, as I pieced together that this had somehow turned into a public spectacle, and judging by the cameras, it was possibly being broadcasted live. A staff member approached, noticing my confusion. It's been quite a day, hasn't it? They remarked, explaining that a TV recording had been scheduled at the restaurant that day, which explained the unexpected media presence. The entire family drama had accidentally played out on live television, exposing everything to the public in stark, unfiltered detail. I stood there, processing the whirlwind of events, feeling a strange mix of disbelief and vindication. This bizarre turn of events had unfolded in such a way that the truth was now out for everyone to see. The private dining area hadn't been as secluded as they thought, and conversations had been easily overheard. Just as I was about to step outside for air, a famous TV announcer approached Mary, beaming. Mary, would you be willing to do an interview? He asked cheerfully. Mary, always an avid fan of the media, lit up with excitement. An interview? Absolutely, she exclaimed, eager to soak in the attention. The announcer smiled. We're talking about mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationships today. We heard there was a bit of a heated argument earlier, and the daughter-in-law left in tears. Can you tell us what happened? Mary's face went pale at the unexpected question. Amanda's expression mirrored her mother's as they both struggled to come up with a response. Their manipulation and scheming had now been laid bare, and they were cornered into explaining the truth. Just then, from across the room, Patrick spotted me. He looked desperate, his eyes pleading. "Pamela, please," he called out, but by now, his words were nothing more than noise against the backdrop of the chaos that had unfolded. "I can't let this shame be known. It was all a misunderstanding," Patrick implored, looking utterly defeated. But by then, any feelings I had for him had evaporated. Mary, attempting to smooth things over, forced a strange smile. "Oh, we usually call each other Pamela," she said, trying to paint a picture of familiarity. "Pamela, come over here," she beckoned, her voice unnervingly sweet. As I approached, the announcer directed the microphone toward me. "You say you call each other Pamela, but how does the daughter-in-law truly view her mother-in-law?" they asked. Calmly, I responded, "I've never been called that." I paused. "I have, however, been called unpatriotic for not having children. Multiple times. Patrick and I haven't felt ready or confident enough to start a family. We haven't even tried in over 2 years, and I've been repeatedly told that's grounds for divorce." I continued, sharing how Patrick had initially supported me when I first felt ill and had to take a leave from work. I appreciated his kindness and followed him here, thinking a change of environment might help. But this, I said, gesturing to the scene around me, is the result. By then, my tears had dried up, leaving only detachment. Seeing Mary and Amanda scorn with embarrassment brought a small flicker of satisfaction. As I stood there, fully aware this could all be broadcast nationwide, I couldn't help but reflect on the surreal nature of the day. Watching Mary's distressed expression when I mentioned the broadcast made me smile. "Well, since I'm considered an outsider, I suppose I should leave. Goodbye," I said, savoring the moment as I turned to exit the restaurant. I ignored the shouts and commotion that followed, feeling a wave of relief as I walked away. The day had been long and fraught with emotion, but in that final moment, I felt a profound release. Walking away from that chaotic scene, a mix of relief and satisfaction settled in. Although Mary and her family managed to prevent the footage from airing, the incident caused a local stir, becoming a hot topic among relatives and acquaintances. The gossip spread quickly, fueling endless speculation. I returned home, packed my belongings, and moved back to my parents' house. I sent Patrick the divorce papers, but his response was delayed, prompting me to consider involving a lawyer. To my surprise, Patrick soon appeared at my parents' doorstep. My father, Peter, usually a composed and calm man, took charge of the situation with a firm hand. Patrick, clearly remorseful, offered a heartfelt apology. He claimed he would sever ties with his family and promised to trust only me going forward. But his words felt hollow, too little, too late. Visibly upset by the years of distress Patrick had caused, my father didn't mince words. "Why didn't you realize this sooner? What have you put Pamela through all these years? Just sign the divorce papers and leave," he instructed sternly. With regret etched across his face, Patrick handed over the papers. His handwriting was shaky, barely legible. Despite the difficulty, the divorce was processed smoothly. It later emerged that Amanda had been the true cause of her infertility, a fact she had wrongly blamed on her husband. Now on the brink of her own divorce, she no longer visited her in-laws. Patrick returned to live with his mother, Mary, in their small hometown, likely facing the weight of uncomfortable rumors. But that chapter of my life was closed. In the months that followed, life took a more positive turn. I reconnected with a classmate from my hometown, and we eventually married. Our relationship is filled with joy, and we soon welcomed a child. We now have a 2-year-old daughter, and I am expecting our second child. My new mother-in-law is a blessing, supportive, kind, and everything Mary was not. Life is unpredictable, but in this moment, I am living a fulfilling and happy life surrounded by the love and support I once thought was out of reach. Hello, I'm Patricia, 48 years old, and I live with my husband Ethan and my mother-in-law in a well-connected suburb close to the train station, which provides excellent access to the city center. During our house hunting phase, Ethan, who had just been promoted to a managerial position, insisted on finding the spacious apartment, even though it came with a high rent. He believed the extra space was worth the cost. Ethan is 6 years older than me and was introduced to me by a mutual friend after his divorce. His mature, comforting presence quickly became something I relied on. After 3 years of dating, we decided to get married. When I revealed my struggles with infertility due to a past illness, his affection remained unwavering. My feelings for him only grew stronger even after learning about his previous marriage and his son Willie from that relationship. "I'm truly sorry to ask you to live with my parents and son," Ethan had said. "I promise I won't let you suffer. I'll ensure you're happy and give you space so you don't feel suffocated." He suggested moving into a large apartment where I could have my own room. Willie turning 9 that year wouldn't require much care, especially with his grandmother around to help. After his divorce, Ethan's parents had supported him with childcare till his father tragically passed away in an accident, leaving his mother to take over as Willie's caretaker. From our very first meeting, Willie barely made eye contact with me. Initially, I attributed his reserved demeanor to his age and possible shyness, so I didn't let it bother me too much. As long as the family accepted me, I felt content to be part of their household. My mother-in-law, a woman of quiet elegance, treated me with kindness during our formal introduction post-engagement, which gave me hope that we could coexist peacefully. She set clear expectations from the start. I'll continue to prepare the meals as usual. Ethan often comes home late, so it's fine if we eat at different times, right, Patricia? I'll leave the cleaning and laundry to you. Let's work well together, she said. After we married, I transitioned from full-time to part-time work at the pharmacy to better manage the household chores. This new schedule meant I wouldn't get home until nearly 9:05 p.m., but at least dinner was always ready, a small comfort during my solo dining routine. My mother-in-law and Willie typically ate before I arrived, which reinforced a sense of isolation even within my married life. At first, I wondered if this was all there was to family life, but I gradually accepted it as our way. Despite our seemingly smooth start, it became evident that my mother-in-law never truly accepted me or considered me part of the family. In my attempts to bond with Willie, I asked about his school activities. "Willie, when is the school's activity day before summer? We're all going to see you, aren't we?" Before he could answer, my mother-in-law quickly intervened, saying, "We'll go, just Ethan and me. Patricia, you don't need to worry about it." Misunderstanding her intentions, I persisted, "I can take the day off work. Let's all go together." But she dismissed me sharply. "You don't need to do that. You're Ethan's wife and family has always just been Ethan and me." Her words stunned me. That night, I expressed my shock to Ethan, who explained, "Mom has been clinging to Willie. She probably thinks you're trying to take him away. I'll talk to her about it over time." I managed to attend the activity day, hoping to integrate into the family as a mother figure. However, Willie and I rarely interacted outside of these school events. Sometimes I sensed he wanted to open up, but my mother-in-law consistently interjected, blocking any progress. I later discovered she had been tarnishing my image in Willie's eyes, suggesting that I would be happier if he weren't in the picture. This revelation deeply hurt me, highlighting the complexities and challenges of blending into a family with pre-existing bonds and hidden resentments. The accusations were harsh. "She's a terrible person. Dad must be deceived by her too." Hearing such negative comments from my mother-in-law must have influenced Willie during his impressionable teenage years, explaining why he grew distant from me. The situation was disheartening. I had never imagined she could be so manipulative. By the time Willie graduated from high school, he was eager to leave home. He moved in with his girlfriend immediately and departed for college soon after. Within a year of starting his career, he married her quietly and simply, without any formal ceremony. Once Willie was gone, my mother-in-law's behavior took a turn for the worse. Surprisingly, she stopped all housework, which had been a regular part of her daily routine. It seemed her new pastime was finding fault with me. She stopped cooking, something she had previously taken pride in, and would sit at the dining table waiting for me to return from work. The moment I stepped into the kitchen to prepare a meal, the criticisms began. "You're so inefficient. At this rate, it'll take you all night," she scoffed. I admitted I wasn't skilled at cooking, mainly because I had relied on her for meals. Whenever I did manage to cook, she critiqued every dish relentlessly. "This tastes awful," she would say, grimacing. "I'm sorry. I'm trying my best," I would respond, only to hear her retort, You're astonishingly tone deaf when it comes to flavors, Patricia. It's a good thing Willie never had to eat this. If she disliked it so much, I thought, why didn't she just cook herself? It seemed her goal was merely to berate me. Her complaints weren't limited to my cooking. She began to nitpick everything I did, from chores I wasn't accustomed to handling to laundry. Why are there so many wrinkles in the laundry? You have to vacuum every nook and cranny. You really can't do anything right. Didn't your family teach you anything? These jabs at my upbringing were especially painful. She would sigh disdainfully and say, I don't know how you won over Ethan, but I can't see much charm in you as a woman. She always concluded with the same hurtful line. If you hadn't come along, Willie would have never left. I realized her heart was aching from Willie's absence. Perhaps it was a case of empty nest syndrome. I told myself that if venting her frustrations on me helped her cope, I should just bear it. However, her antagonism intensified after a particular event. The announcement of Willie's wife, Teresa, being pregnant. The joy she displayed was unlike anything I had seen before. It's Will's baby. It's bound to be adorable. He'll be my first grandchild, she exclaimed with genuine happiness, watching their elation. Despite the ongoing challenges at home, I found a small piece of joy for myself. My mother-in-law's excitement over the impending arrival of her great-grandchild was nothing short of overwhelming. The catalyst for her exuberance came when Willie asked if his wife, Teresa, could have their baby at our place, given that her family lived an hour away and they lacked local support. Thrilled to be needed, my mother-in-law immediately agreed to help. Joy palpable. Willie's calls became a daily occurrence, each one sending her excitement soaring even higher. She dove into preparations with fervor, clearing out Willie's old room, organizing the space for the baby, and meticulously planning everything from nursery decor to essential baby supplies. The moment I got home from work, she enlisted my help. Patricia, I've taken care of the vacuuming in Willie's room. Could you handle wiping down the floors and the windows? And make sure to wax them too, she instructed, her tone urgent. This weekend, we're off to buy a crib, she added, as if it were the most natural plan for our weekend. Juggling these tasks late into the night after my shifts was grueling, and any attempt to shortcut the process was met with a stern command to start over. Before long, her requests extended to finances. Patricia, I need you to withdraw some money tomorrow. There are a few more things I want to pick up for the baby, she declared one morning. I hesitated, concerned by the rapid pace of spending. Shouldn't we wait for Teresa and Willie to arrive before we buy so much? Maybe Teresa would like to choose some things herself, I suggested, hoping to inject some practicality into the frenzy. Her response was sharp and dismissive. How can you be so detached? It's Ethan's grandchild, after all. Oh, but of course, you're not related by blood. You wouldn't understand, would you? The accusation stung, and I tried to clarify my position gently. It's not that I don't care. I just thought it might be nice for Teresa to have a say in her own child's preparations, I explained. But my attempt to reason with her seemed to hit a nerve. She shot me a piercing glare, and I realized I may have crossed the line. I watched helplessly as she turned and retreated to her room, deeply upset. That night, I reflected on our harsh exchange, feeling the weight of her words. The following morning, she stayed in her room, likely still angry about our conversation. Ethan was about to leave on a business trip when he paused at her door to make a final remark. I'm heading out. Don't dampen Mom's enthusiasm about the grandchild. She's been different since Willie moved out. You've noticed it too, right? I nodded but added, however, if we use up all our funds now, what will we do when Willie and Teresa need our help? Ethan frowned, misunderstanding my concern. Are you suggesting? I don't make enough money, Ethan said, but I quickly reassured him. That's not it at all. However, it was too late. He left visibly upset, leaving me alone to ponder the delicate balance of family dynamics and financial responsibility. As the one managing our household finances for over 12 years, I considered it prudent to think ahead. Ethan had always reassured me that my part-time income was for my own use, so I diligently saved whatever I didn't spend, viewing it as a shared resource for our future. However, the financial stability of our household had been steadily deteriorating over the past 4 years. Ethan's salary had shrunk to a third of what it was when we first got married, due to his company's declining performance. Despite the uncertainty about the company's future and his job security until retirement, Ethan was reluctant to seek new employment, unwilling to relinquish his role as department head. primarily to maintain appearances in front of my mother-in-law. As a result, I took on the responsibility of paying our rent while he managed other living expenses. We kept this arrangement hidden from my mother-in-law to preserve Ethan's dignity. One day, feeling the weight of recent tensions, I decided to leave work early to apologize to my mother-in-law. When I arrived home, she was already seated at the dining table, waiting for me. "I'm sorry about yesterday. I may have been too harsh," I began, but she interrupted me with an icy demeanor. "Willie and Teresa are coming back to have their baby here. I need you to move out," she stated bluntly. Stunned, I barely managed to ask, "I have to leave?" She confirmed, "Yes, we don't need another mother figure. You've been redundant for a while now. Willie and his family will be living here. Make sure you're out by tomorrow." Her words hit me like a freight train. I had never felt fully accepted by the family. I had always been the outsider. Now, with Willie's return for the birth, it was clear I was a failure. "You were allowed to experience raising a child. Be grateful for that. We have no obligation to support you anymore. It seems Ethan is tired of you too. Maybe he's getting along well with a new girlfriend by now." Shocked and heartbroken, I grabbed my bag and left the house, wandering aimlessly to calm my shaken spirit. I tried calling Ethan, but despite my mother-in-law's insinuations, he didn't answer, no matter how many times I dialed. I even called his office, only to find out he had taken a few days off. The suspicions seated by my mother-in-law started to seem more plausible. Overwhelmed with emotion and tears streaming down my face, I found myself in front of the pub near the station, a place Ethan and I used to frequent when we first moved here. It still stood as a relic of happier times. As I entered, the owner's face clouded with concern before he recognized me. "Hey, long time no see." "It's been about 6 years," I replied, trying to muster a smile despite my distress. "Yes, it's been a while. I remember you," he said, offering a nod of recognition that brought a brief sense of relief. "Can I get a beer and a mixed plate of charbroiled chicken?" I asked for a small comfort in this familiar place, a refuge from the storm swirling through my life. As I settled into the pub, I engaged in light conversation with the owner, a man of few words, while sipping my cold beer and savoring the charbroiled chicken. Pulling out my cell phone, I lit up the screen to reveal a photo of Ethan and me taken on Willie's 17th birthday. He looked dashing in the slim suit we had chosen together, and I found myself wishing for a closer family bond. The beer seemed to wash away the day's troubles, and as I contemplated my next steps, I browsed for moving companies, discovering one available for the next day. I bookmarked a couple of junk removal services, saving their contacts in my favorites, and changed my screensaver to something less personal. A sense of mental clarity began to return, and the meal tasted exceptionally good. Perhaps a small comfort amid the chaos. I decided to give the situation more thought once I was back home. As I walked away from the pub, a young waitress hurried towards me. "Excuse me, are you Mrs. Patricia?" she asked. Having noted my previous screensaver, she hesitated, then dropped a bombshell. She believed my husband was having an affair with one of their employees. We exchanged contact details, and she promised to keep me updated. Suddenly, the pieces began to fit together, validating the harsh words of my mother-in-law. Instead of feeling sad, a fierce anger surged within me. It was time to confront this head-on. That evening, I contacted the moving company and resolved to leave the next day. If there was no conspiracy and my mother-in-law and Willie were indeed plotting against me, I no longer felt obliged to maintain appearances. I packed my belongings relentlessly until midnight. The movers arrived promptly the next morning, and I instructed them to take everything I had purchased. I was determined to erase any trace of my presence. My mother-in-law was taken aback by my resolve. "I'm taking everything I bought. You can start fresh tomorrow," I declared. "I'm taking everything I bought," I declared, barely suppressing a laugh at her protests. The movers efficiently cleared out my belongings, leaving behind only the baby gear and her old dresser, the remnants of a life before I arrived. "Well then, I bid you farewell. There shouldn't be a trace of me left, so enjoy your new life with Ethan, Willie, and his family," I said coolly, leaving her stunned as I placed the keys on the table and exited the house, the movers trailing behind with my possessions. I decided to stay with a colleague temporarily, feeling a sense of completion and relief wash over me. That night, I slept more soundly than I had in months. 2 weeks later, Ethan finally reached out, his voice tinged with confusion and urgency. "Patricia, where are you? Willie and his family are here. Aren't you coming home soon? No, I'm not coming back, I replied firmly, recalling his mother's command for me to leave. Meanwhile, the young waitress from the pub had kept her promise, sending me a photo of Ethan chatting intimately with another woman at the pub and later entering the hotel with her. This betrayal erased any remaining affection I had for him. Armed with evidence of the affair, I was ready to confront the situation fully. No longer bound by illusions of my old life, I had had enough. I didn't hesitate to make it clear to Ethan over the phone. Willie and his family are moving in with you, right? I figured as much. I heard they've been struggling financially, bouncing between part-time jobs since Willie graduated from vocational school. I want you back, Patricia, Ethan replied, desperation lacing his voice. I went to the pharmacy and they said you were taking some time off. Yeah, I needed a break, I said nonchalantly. But I'm fine, so don't worry about me. Your mom and Willie probably prefer having the house to themselves without me around. My blunt remark left Ethan speechless. He knew all too well that his mother and Willie had never accepted me, but he chose to ignore it. All right, I need to talk, so I'll come back there, he said, a plea evident in his tone. A few days later, I returned to the house for the first time since leaving. Inside, I noticed new furniture and appliances. Willie and Teresa barely acknowledged my presence, nodding from their seats on the sofa without standing. As I sat down, my mother-in-law glared at me with a mix of shock and disdain, the atmosphere thick with tension. Before I could rush my visit and leave, Willie confronted me. What are you doing here? You took everything from the house. What kind of monster does that? Dad's been supporting you and you've had it easy. I exhaled deeply, frustration boiling over. I took everything because I paid for it. I was clearing out all traces of myself, just as you all wanted, right? That's crazy. There's no way you could afford all that, just working part-time at the pharmacy. Willie shot back. Turning to face Ethan, I replied firmly, we've been getting by on what both Ethan and I earn. And for your information, Ethan's company hasn't been doing well. His salary has dropped significantly. For the past 4 years, I've been the one covering the shortfall. I've been paying our rent. My mother-in-law's face registered shock as she turned to look at Ethan, who awkwardly avoided her gaze. I'm not just a part-timer. I'm a druggist, and the pay is quite good. I make more than Ethan now. The room went silent, the tension palpable. I turned to Willie. I decided it was time to face some hard truths. Since you're going to live here now, it's time for you to start taking responsibility. You'll be paying the rent to help your grandmother. Willie's face twisted in surprise. Rent? How much is it? It's $7,200, I stated firmly. Good luck, because it seems my role here is over. I have no obligation to take care of you anymore. You're going to be a father soon, Willie. It's time to pull yourself together. Teresa, overhearing our conversation, suddenly spoke up, panic evident in her voice. Wait, $7,200? Weren't we supposed to live here for free? I stood ready to leave, satisfied that I had made my point clear. Covering rent and living expenses is just part of life. Good luck figuring it out. As I walked out, leaving them to absorb this new reality, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The chapter of my life filled with neglect and ingratitude was finally closing. I almost burst out laughing at the absurdity of the situation but managed to keep my composure. Don't worry, Teresa. There are cheaper places available. Ethan still makes a decent salary after all, I remarked, watching her face relax slightly. Then, with a heavy dose of sarcasm, I added, oh, and since I'll be leaving, life might get tough for you, Ethan, especially with your mistress. At that, Teresa's composure shattered, and she dissolved into tears. What are you talking about? My husband stammered, looking panicked. Through her tears, Teresa responded, oh, your mother told me about the new woman. I guess it's time to end my role as a wife too. Ethan looked flustered. My mother said what? He sputtered, realizing too late that I knew far more than he wished I did. It hasn't even been 6 days since I left the house. Ethan, wouldn't that hurt Grace if she knew? I mused aloud. At the mention of Grace's name, Ethan's face went pale, confirming my suspicions. This isn't the right atmosphere to discuss divorce papers, but I'll be in touch about that later, I declared, standing up to leave. Neither Ethan nor Willie could find the words to respond. They remained silent as I grabbed my bag. However, my mother-in-law abruptly stood up, slamming her hands on the table and yelling with surprising vigor for her age. What the hell? It's all your fault. Our home is in shambles. I shot back without hesitation. It was you who told me to leave, you who hinted at Ethan's affair, and you who interfered with my relationship with Willie. Everything is because of you. A rush of anger surged through me, and I regretted not being more assertive in my relationship with Willie and not standing up to her sooner. Willie has nothing to do with this, Ethan. It's time for you to step up. You're going through a hard time. You should support him as his wife and take responsibility as a family member, I admonished. What is she even talking about? My mother-in-law muttered, bewildered. If she hadn't called Willie back home, if she hadn't hinted at Ethan's affair, I would still be supporting Ethan in this home. Where are you, Willie? Why are you still here? It's all her fault, my mother-in-law concluded, her lips pressed tightly together, trembling with emotion. I slipped past her and quickly left the room. Afterward, Ethan agreed to the divorce rather easily. My determination and the undeniable evidence of the affair left him no other choice. Shortly after, it seemed they began the process of moving out of the apartment. In the end, Willie and Teresa returned to their own apartment, opting not to live with my mother-in-law. Ethan appeared to be considering remarriage, but Grace was furious over the alimony and his request for her to live with his mother. I heard they were now deliberating their next steps after everything that transpired. My mother-in-law eventually ended up in a care facility. It's somewhat melancholy to reflect on the irony of her situation. After all the dedication she poured into raising her son and caring for her grandson, it seems they are now ready to move on without her. Perhaps, in their eyes, she had fulfilled her role. If my mother-in-law had held her tongue back then, and if it had merely been a simple return home for childbirth, maybe we could have continued living together even after the divorce. But things unfolded differently. Willie sent me an apology letter recently. In it, he expressed his childhood longing for more affection and explained that he couldn't talk to me freely because his grandmother disapproved. He also shared how pleased he was whenever I attended his school events. Reading his words, I wondered if I should have made more effort to connect with him. Maybe then our relationship could have taken a different path. Despite the end of our familial ties, I find myself silently hoping for Willie's happiness in life. As for me, I've returned to my job as a druggist and rented an apartment close to my workplace. I didn't feel right keeping the furniture and appliances I had taken from the house, so I arranged for a junk removal service to take them away. Life without the constant criticism and interference of my mother-in-law has turned out to be peaceful and comfortable. For now, I am focused on living for my own happiness, no longer beholden to fulfilling someone else's expectations or desires. It's a new chapter, one where I can finally breathe freely and look forward to what comes next. Hello everyone, I'm Brenda. My sister-in-law Kathleen has been a tremendous support in my life, and it was she who encouraged me to share my story with you today. Kathleen and I have always been close, especially since we worked together before I met my wonderful husband, Larry, through her. I'm deeply grateful to Kathleen for playing Cupid because Larry and I have built a beautiful life together. However, while Kathleen and Larry are incredible individuals, my relationship with Larry's mother, Grace, has been quite the opposite. From the moment we met, Grace made her disdain for me clear, creating a strain in our relationship that even Larry struggled to ease. Despite his efforts, Grace's hostility never faded. Things escalated at our wedding when Grace wrongly accused me of ruining her dress, an incident that caused friction between Larry and me. Grace, being a single mother, had always clung tightly to Larry, making it difficult for him to create distance from her negativity. The situation reached a breaking point on our first anniversary. Kathleen, ever the protective sister-in-law, discreetly warned me about Grace's plan to publicly humiliate me. She intended to accuse me of stealing a precious family heirloom, a necklace. Despite my attempts to resolve things, Grace was set on causing harm, adding another layer of tension to our already fragile relationship. As our anniversary approached, I felt torn. I wanted to celebrate peacefully, but Larry insisted on including his mother. Grace's potential interference loomed over the celebration, threatening to overshadow what should have been a joyful milestone. I longed for a day filled with love and laughter, but Grace's scheming weighed heavily on my heart. Although Kathleen had confided in me, I hesitated to tell Larry. I believed he needed to see his mother's actions for himself. On the day of the anniversary, I stayed vigilant, watching Grace closely. Thankfully, the day passed without major incidents, but Grace eventually cornered me when I was refilling my drink. She accused me of trying to take Larry away from her. Her words were bizarre and seemed completely unrelated to our celebration. She claimed I was the reason Larry was distancing himself from her tone dripping with ominous threats of what she had in store for me. Kathleen, sensing the brewing storm, remained by my side, ready for whatever Grace might do. Not long after, Grace excused herself, saying she was going to put on her jewelry. When she returned, she acted distressed, claiming her necklace and earrings were missing. Kathleen and I exchanged knowing glances, realizing Grace was trying to execute her plan to frame me. Despite her convincing performance, we stayed calm, watching as she attempted to turn the guests against me. Amidst the questioning, Grace paused dramatically, insinuating that I had stolen her jewelry. I was the thief. What are you talking about, Mom? Larry interjected, clearly perplexed. You probably just misplaced them. It's not like we have strangers here. How could they have been stolen? But Grace pressed on. No, Larry, this isn't a case of misplaced jewelry. No one broke in. It has to be your wife. She's always admired my jewelry a little too keenly. The room fell silent, shock visible on everyone's faces as Grace pointed accusingly at me. Larry looked embarrassed by his mother's outburst, but his faith in me did not waver. Mom, that's unfair, he countered firmly. You're casting baseless accusations at Brenda. She would never do something like that. You must have misplaced it. Grace persisted, trying to convince Larry of her suspicions, recalling every moment I had complimented her jewelry. But throughout the ordeal, Larry's trust in me remained strong, a testament to the bond we shared. I stood there, stunned by Grace's accusations, especially on a day meant to celebrate our anniversary. Grace, I would never take your jewelry. I defended myself, shocked she could think I'd steal from her. When I complimented your necklace, it was just that, a compliment. It doesn't mean I wanted it for myself. Grace snapped back sharply. Larry, you're blind with love. Can't you see how manipulative your wife is? She's so greedy that she didn't even ask. She just took my jewelry because she wanted it for herself. This sparked a heated argument between Larry and Grace, much to the dismay of our guests, who watched in disbelief as the drama unfolded. It was humiliating to be accused of theft during what should have been a joyful celebration. Staying composed, I turned to Grace and spoke firmly. You have no right to accuse me of something so outrageous in my own home. To claim I would stoop to theft is beyond insulting. I respect myself far too much to engage in what you're describing. Grace, undeterred, fired back. Don't play the innocent, Brenda. I saw you last night, sneaking into my room. You came out acting suspiciously. And now it all makes perfect sense, Grace insisted, utterly convinced of her own narrative. Grace, you're making wild accusations without a shred of evidence, I countered firmly. You have no proof, and it's wrong to tarnish my reputation based on nothing. Who knows what you've done with your jewelry? You can't just blame me. If you think I'm lying, then let's check your room. I'm certain we'll find my jewelry there, Grace proposed, her voice filled with conviction. We have witnesses here. Let's see for ourselves. Larry, it's inappropriate and disrespectful to invade our privacy based on mere suspicions, I protested. We can't allow your mother to keep pushing this. If we give in now, everyone will doubt my integrity forever. The tension was thick, and it was clear something needed to be done to resolve the situation without compromising our dignity. As difficult as it was, I knew we had to clear the air and prove my innocence without escalating the conflict. Larry stood in the middle, torn between his loyalty to his mother and his trust in me. He understood Grace's frustration but also knew how serious her accusations were. With no proof to back her claims, it was a dangerous line to cross. Realizing I needed to clear my name, Larry reluctantly agreed to his mother's demand. As the group, led by Grace, marched toward our bedroom, the tension only grew. Grace, certain of her accusations, made a beeline for my closet. She rummaged through it and then triumphantly held up her jewelry box. Look, Larry, I found my jewelry in your wife's closet. See? She did steal my things. She's greedy and jealous. No, this can't be, Larry said, clearly conflicted but still supportive. I know my wife. She wouldn't steal from you. I don't understand how your jewelry ended up there. Brenda, you didn't take this, right? Of course not, Larry. You know I'm not a thief, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the chaos. Oh, really, Brenda? Grace sneered. Then explain how my other jewelry set ended up in your closet too. You can't wiggle your way out of this one. You should have just confessed and returned my things. Her anger was palpable as she leveled the accusation. "I'm sorry, Larry, but this is too much. I need to call the police," Grace declared, pulling out her phone and beginning to dial. Her action sent waves of shock and whispers through the guests as the situation spiraled out of control. I remained composed, despite the crushing humiliation and the harsh whispers rippling through the room as we waited for the police. Grace continued her tirade, labeling me a gold digger and turning to Larry. "This proves it, Larry. I told you Brenda was no good. You need to see the truth and divorce her. No one wants a thief in the family." The situation felt like a nightmare as I stood there, holding on to my dignity amid the false accusations. I knew this moment would test everything Larry and I had built together. As the reality of the police arriving loomed closer, Grace remained unwavering in her belief that I would soon be arrested. Larry, however, expressed doubt. "Mom, I don't think calling the police was the right move. You might not like how this unfolds." "What do you mean, Kathleen?" Grace snapped, her confidence unshaken. "I couldn't just stand by and let Brenda get away with this. People who commit crimes need to be held accountable without mercy, or they'll keep doing it." "I think Kathleen is right, Mom," Larry interjected, trying to defuse the situation. "Calling the police could backfire on you. But now that it's done, there's no turning back." "How could this possibly turn out worse for me when Brenda is the one who committed the crime?" Grace retorted, eager to see her version of justice unfold. At that moment, despite the gravity of the situation, I couldn't help but laugh. Kathleen smirked and shook her head, knowing something Grace didn't. The room grew tense as everyone stared at me, confused, wondering why I would be laughing while supposedly about to be arrested. Once I regained my composure, I turned to Grace. "You know, Grace, it's fascinating how meticulously you plotted to frame me as a thief." "What do you mean? You were the thief. You stole my jewelry." Grace shot back, her face flushed with indignation. "Oh, come on, Mom. Have some decency," Larry said, his frustration evident. "We all know Brenda didn't steal your jewelry. This has been a setup from the beginning." Kathleen's sudden declaration shocked everyone, including Grace, who for the first time appeared nervous. "What are you talking about, Kathleen? I haven't done anything. If anyone's a thief, it's Brenda." "Quit the act, Grace," Kathleen said firmly. "You thought you could frame her, but I found out. I warned Brenda you'd try to pull something like this. Your scheme to trap her, it's over." I confronted her directly, and the entire atmosphere shifted as the truth began to unravel. Grace's plot wasn't just an attack on me, it was an assault on the trust and harmony of our family. Even before the party began, I'd sensed something was off, but her accusations during the heated exchange shocked everyone. "How dare you suggest that? You're manipulating my child, making her say things without any proof," Grace fumed, her voice rising. Larry stood by me. "Mom, we didn't have proof before, but now we do." The urgency to clear my name surged within me. Grace, flustered, demanded, "What are you talking about, Brenda? What proof could you possibly have?" Her panic became obvious as I calmly mentioned our home security system. "Did you forget our house is equipped with cameras?" I asked, watching as the color drained from her face. Grace's confidence began to crumble. Perhaps she assumed the cameras were only outside, unaware that her actions inside the house could also be recorded. Larry, catching on, added, "That's right, I almost forgot about the cameras too. We've got them in the hallways, clear views of every room from the outside. We can check the footage and see the truth." "Why do we need to check the cameras?" Grace's voice wavered, tinged with desperation. "I'm your mother, Larry. I'm telling you Brenda stole from me. We shouldn't need to prove anything else." "No, Mom," Larry responded firmly. "I thought you wanted to get to the bottom of this. I don't believe for a second that Brenda is a thief. If you're so sure, we should look at the footage together. I need to see for myself if what you're claiming is true. Otherwise, I can't believe it." Despite Grace's best efforts to stop us, I pulled up the footage on my phone. The room tensed as everyone prepared to watch the events unfold, the truth about to be revealed. As the tension mounted, the police arrived. Briefed by the crowd, they quickly assessed the situation. Grace wasted no time approaching them, pointing directly at me. "Officers, you need to arrest my daughter-in-law, Brenda. She's a criminal. She stole my jewelry. We found it in her closet. Arrest her now." But I was ready. "I don't think so, Grace," I said, steeling myself for what was to come. I turned to the officers, interjecting firmly, "I have proof that my mother-in-law set me up and is making false claims against me." One officer asked, Do you have solid evidence against her? Yes, I do, I replied confidently. My home is equipped with security cameras, and here is the footage from yesterday. I handed my phone to the officers, and they began reviewing the video. Larry and the others watched closely as well. The footage clearly showed Grace taking her jewelry box from her room and entering mine while I was out. Moments later, she reappeared without the box, confirming she had deliberately planted it in my closet to frame me. The revelation stunned everyone, especially Larry, whose expression shifted to one of anger and disbelief. "Mom, how could you do this?" he demanded, his voice thick with frustration. "Brenda has been nothing but kind to you, and you stabbed her in the back like this. What is wrong with you?" Grace, now panicked and tearful under her son's piercing gaze, attempted to explain. "Larry, please let me explain." "No. Just no." Larry cut her off sharply. "I don't want to hear it, Mom. I'm done. I'm so done with how you tried to destroy my wife's life and reputation on our anniversary. I will never forgive you for that. I can't believe how low you stooped. I'm ashamed to have a mother like you, and I don't think I want any contact with you from now on." Larry's words hit Grace like a sledgehammer. Kathleen, who had warned about this possibility, nodded in agreement, her concerns now fully validated. The police, having reviewed the footage, realized the accusations against me were unfounded, confirming my innocence. One officer turned to me. "Ma'am, you have the right to file a formal complaint against your mother-in-law for making these false accusations." "Yes, I'm aware, thank you," I replied, feeling the weight of the situation settle over me. "Would you like to proceed with pressing charges?" "It seems reasonable under the circumstances," the officer suggested. "We can take her into custody and clear this up." "Yes, I'd like to press charges," I confirmed. I glanced at Larry. "I'm sorry for the drama this has caused everyone tonight. Larry, are you okay with this?" "Brenda, what Mom did was wrong. You have my full support," Larry affirmed, his voice steady. As the officers approached Grace to place her in handcuffs, she resisted, her emotional state unraveling as she pleaded with Larry, Kathleen, and even me for forgiveness. "Brenda, please don't do this. I'm your mother-in-law. What will people think if they see me getting arrested?" Her desperate pleas fell on deaf ears. I remember how eager she had been earlier to see me in the same position. "You didn't care about public opinion when you called the police on me," I said, my voice calm and resolute. "Why should I care now? I'm justified in having you arrested after what you've done," I said firmly. The police warned Grace about resisting arrest, but her desperation had taken over. Her cries filled the room as the reality of her actions finally caught up to her. The family stood by, a mix of relief and sadness in their eyes, knowing this was a necessary step toward restoring peace and trust. "I'm sorry, Brenda. I shouldn't have done this. Look, we're family. We can solve this ourselves." "There's no need to involve the police," Grace pleaded, her voice trembling with desperation. Her earlier words echoed in my mind, stark against her current plea for leniency. "Grace, you once said that criminals shouldn't be spared because they might become worse. Now, seeing how you could easily become a menace to society, I feel it's my duty as a concerned citizen to ensure you face the consequences of your actions," I replied, mirroring her own logic back to her. Grace looked utterly shocked as I repeated her statement. She continued to sob and mumble apologies, but her words did little to sway anyone in the room. The guests murmured their disapproval, and the police efficiently moved to take her into custody. Larry and I accompanied the officers to the station to file a formal report, while Kathleen stayed behind to manage the aftermath of the evening's drama. As we reached the station, preparing to document everything officially, I paused, wanting to make sure Larry was still comfortable with the decision. "Larry, are you sure you're okay with this? If you're uncomfortable with filing the report, we can reconsider," I offered, giving him a chance to back out. "No, Brenda, we're not turning back on this. We need to file the report," Larry said firmly. "I failed to protect you from my mother's actions. She was about to ruin your life, and I can't overlook that. You know I never doubted you for a second, right?" "I know, Larry. It's not your fault. Your mom's choices are her own," I reassured him, understating the emotional turmoil he was going through. Larry's love for his mother made the reality of her actions even more painful. Despite this, he stood by me, acknowledging that this step was necessary to protect our future and ensure that such behavior wouldn't happen again. As I finalized the report, Larry made a firm decision to keep Grace out of our lives permanently. To help heal the strain this had placed on our relationship, we had agreed to start couples counseling, strengthening our bond and learning to navigate our marriage dynamics with greater understanding. Despite the turmoil, Larry and I returned to our anniversary celebration. The food was ready, our friends and family were still gathered, and there was a renewed sense of support. We saw no reason to let one person's actions ruin our day. It was, after all, our anniversary, and we decided to continue the festivities, enjoying ourselves with those who truly cared. Even Kathleen had a wonderful time, sharing in the joy and laughter that filled the room. Meanwhile, Grace, my mother-in-law, faced the consequences of her actions in jail. Ultimately, she chose not to let the case go to trial and agreed to a settlement through my lawyer, which provided me with a substantial sum in compensation. Though she avoided a court case, I hope this experience would prompt her to reflect on her behavior. Since then, Larry, Kathleen, and I, along with several other family members, have cut ties with Grace completely. Some family members were hesitant to block her immediately, likely out of fear she could stir up more discord. However, distancing ourselves from her has brought peace. Larry and I have seen significant improvements in our marriage. The counseling has helped us rebuild with greater teamwork and understanding, and we are now looking forward to our next chapter together. We're expecting our first child. We've decided to keep our new family safe, ensuring Grace will have no involvement in our child's life. This decision has brought a new sense of stability and peace as we prepare for the future as a family. Hi there, I'm Jennifer, just your average straightforward person with quite a tale to share. It's a story of heartbreak, resilience, and unexpected strength. A few years ago, life threw me a curveball I never saw coming. My husband Frank and I were living what seemed like the perfect life. Our cozy suburban home, our dog Billy, and dreams of starting a family. But then, out of nowhere, our lives took a sharp turn. I experienced a miscarriage that hit us like a relentless blow, shaking us to our core and challenging our marriage. We suddenly found ourselves lost in a whirlwind of pain and confusion. Frank and I had always been a solid team, committed to facing life's challenges together. However, this loss casts a shadow over us, infiltrating every aspect of our relationship. Conversations turned into arguments, simple joys felt elusive, and the intimacy we once shared began to fade. Adding to the strain was my mother-in-law, Betty, who had been eager for grandchildren since the day we tied the knot. The pressure from her felt like a ticking clock, amplifying our already heavy hearts. Despite countless doctor visits and treatments, my fertility issues persisted. The emotional roller coaster of hope and despair was overwhelming, with each positive test leading to crushing heartbreak. I vividly recall the devastating conversations with Frank where our frustration and hope spilled out in equal measure. "It's not fair, Jennifer. We've tried so hard," he'd say, his voice thick with disappointment. "I know, Frank. I never wanted this," I would reply, feeling the weight of our shared dreams crumbling around us. Life seemed determined to challenge us, and with each passing year, the burden grew heavier. Friends and family offered their support, but the journey of trying to conceive remained daunting, a profound weight that loomed over us, growing more burdensome as time marched on. Yet through these trials, Frank and I discovered the depths of our strength and the resilience of our bond. Our path wasn't easy, but it was ours, filled with lessons about love, hardship, and the intricate journey of life. It didn't go unnoticed by friends and family that we were still childless. Their well-meaning inquiries about when we might welcome a little one often felt more like pressure than support. But Betty took it to another level entirely. Every family gathering with her turned into a relentless interrogation about our plans to start a family. It often felt as if she were pointing the finger at me, as though the absence of children rested solely on my shoulders, especially given my fertility struggles. "Jennifer, it's so lovely to see you. How have you been?" Betty would begin sweetly. "I've been good, Betty. Thanks for asking," I would reply, bracing myself for what came next. "Any good news to share? How about a little one on the way?" "Betty, we've talked about this. We're still trying, but it's not that simple," I'd respond, trying to keep my frustration at bay. Trying to keep my tone light. "Oh dear, are you sure you're doing everything right? You've been married for quite some time now. Maybe it's time to see a specialist." "Yes, Betty, we've seen specialists. We're doing everything we can. It's just not happening as easily as you might think." "Well, maybe you should try some natural remedies. I've heard that herbal teas in certain positions can help." I really want a grandbaby. Betty, this is a private matter. We're handling it the best we can, I'd insist, hoping to steer the conversation away. Oh, please, private. We're family. We should be able to discuss these things openly. I understand that, Betty, but let's just enjoy our time together today without discussing this, okay? All right, dear, but tick-tock, time is wasting, and soon you won't be able to have kids. I'll keep that in mind, Betty. It was always like this. I felt an immense weight of pressure and shame for not meeting her expectations of a perfect daughter-in-law who would bless her with grandchildren. Ironically, she never imposed such expectations on her own daughter, who wasn't even married yet and seemed to escape scrutiny. It was incredibly frustrating. This period in our lives was tremendously challenging. The pressure from Betty only continued to build, and it felt like she was constantly holding my fertility struggles against me. I could see the strain it was putting on both Frank and me. I suggested adoption several times, but Frank was adamant about having a biological child, which led to heated arguments between us. The tension from these discussions, coupled with external pressures, made everything even harder. I expressed to Frank how painful and unfair it felt to distinguish between biological and adopted children. As to me, all children deserve love equally. Yet he remained focused on having a biological child, a desire that weighed heavily on both our hearts. I couldn't shake the thought of the countless children out there longing for a family, which only deepened my sadness. As for Betty, her attitude escalated to overtly harsh territory. She relentlessly blamed me for her inability to have children, as if my fertility issues were something I could resolve with a little more effort. It created an unbearable situation where I was fighting to preserve my marriage while enduring constant judgment and reproach. It was an emotionally draining ordeal. Betty never hesitated to express her dissatisfaction. "Jennifer, you need to fix this and fast. You're the reason we don't have any grandchildren yet," she'd confront me. "Betty, I've been trying everything I can. It's not as simple as you think. I'm dealing with fertility issues," I'd reply, my patience wearing thin. "Well, you need to try harder. We can't let our family line end with you," she retorted, her fixation feeling almost dystopian, as if she expected me to fulfill some sort of Handmaid's Tale scenario. Overwhelmed, I decided to seek some insight from my sister-in-law, Amy, who always seemed more empathetic. "Amy, I don't understand why your mom is so fixated on me having a baby. It's not entirely under my control, and she's making my life miserable." I confided in Amy, hoping for clarity. "Jennifer, it's not just about grandkids," she hesitated, hinting at something deeper. After some coaxing, she revealed her troubling thoughts. "I overheard Mom talking to some family friends. She's worried that Frank might leave you for someone younger, someone who can have kids." "What? Frank would never do that. Why would you even think such a thing?" I was shocked. "I know you believe that, but remember, Frank was quite the ladies' man before. I didn't want to say anything because he's my brother, and I'm loyal to him." "You're lucky I'm even sharing this with you," Amy admitted. "Honestly, I think Mom might have a point." "Yeah, Jennifer, time is ticking," she added, echoing the harsh reality looming over us. This revelation shook me deeply, intertwining my marital uncertainties with the invasive pressures from Betty and adding layers of complexity to an already strained relationship. Hearing about the possibility of Frank leaving me for someone younger left me staggered. Amy hinted at a younger coworker, an intern around 25 years old, with whom Frank seemed to enjoy chatting a bit too much. The thought that my husband could even consider leaving me, or worse, engaging with other women behind my back, was shattering. My heart felt like it was being torn apart by the potential betrayal. After grappling with my suspicions and the agony they caused, I reached a breaking point. The distance between Frank and me had widened into an unbridgeable chasm, and I knew it was time for a confrontation. One evening, sensing my withdrawal and standoffishness, Frank asked me about it. Overwhelmed by pain and frustration, I confronted him directly about his fidelity. Initially, Frank denied everything, as anyone might in such a shocking situation, but as the conversation wore on, he eventually confessed to his indiscretions. The revelation of his affair with a younger coworker unleashed a torrent of emotions within me. In a moment of intense anger and hurt, I slapped him, a stark reflection of the pain he had inflicted. Frank's reaction was predictably mixed with pleas and requests for forgiveness, but I could see right through it. Over the years, I had built a stable and prosperous life for myself, making wise financial decisions and advancing in my career. It dawned on me that Frank might have been holding on to our failing marriage, not just out of love or a desire for a child, but perhaps also to secure a financial safety net through potential child support payments in the event of a divorce. Feeling manipulated and used, I declared that I wanted a divorce. I was exhausted by the deceit and emotional turmoil. How could you, Frank? How could you betray me like this? I demanded, my voice shaking with disbelief. Jennifer, please just listen. I messed up. I know I did. I'm so sorry, he pleaded, desperation dripping from his words. Sorry doesn't cut it, Frank. You cheated on me with someone from your office. I shot back, my rage bubbling to the surface. Jennifer, you have to understand. I was feeling so inadequate, so unfulfilled. I thought having a child would make me feel like I was worth something, he tried to explain. Oh, so you thought cheating on your wife was the solution? Did you really believe that sleeping with someone else would magically make you a better person? My disbelief turned to scorn as I confronted him. In that moment, the truth of our situation became painfully clear. Frank's betrayal wasn't just a lapse in judgment, it was a deliberate choice that shattered the foundation of our marriage. No, of course not. I was foolish to think that way. I didn't know what else to do. Frank stammered, his desperation evident. You didn't know what to do, so you chose to hurt me instead. Do you even realize the pain you've caused? My voice was filled with disbelief and hurt. Jennifer, I can't lose you. Please let me make this right. I'll do anything, he begged, his voice cracking with emotion. Do you really think you can undo this with a few hollow promises? You need to grow up, Frank, and take responsibility for your actions, I replied sternly, my resolve hardening. As I sat in the lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers, a profound sense of relief washed over me. The weight of a broken marriage and the sting of Frank's betrayal were finally lifting, and I could breathe freely again. Despite Betty and Amy's attempts to convince me otherwise, their pleas couldn't mask the deceit they too had harbored. I knew what was right for me, and staying with a man who had been unfaithful was no longer an option. With the prenuptial agreement in place, the divorce proceedings were swift. I retained the house, my sanctuary where I could start anew. Frank, on the other hand, had to move back in with his mother, a situation he found far from ideal. The day the divorce was finalized, I left the lawyer's office feeling liberated from a toxic relationship. But as I drove home, a sudden wave of nausea overwhelmed me. I quickly pulled over, stumbled out of the car, and barely made it to the roadside before I threw up. The twisting in my stomach felt like the emotional toll of the divorce finally catching up with me. But as the nausea persisted over the following days, I realized this was only the beginning of my journey. I started to suspect there was more to this situation. The very next day, I was jolted awake by the incessant ringing of my doorbell. To my dismay, it was Frank, Betty, and Amy causing a commotion outside. They barged into my home uninvited, shouting about the prenuptial agreement and how it was unfair to leave Frank with so little, given my financial status. Betty wasted no time in cutting to the chase. Jennifer, we're here to collect some money as compensation for all the years Frank wasted with you, she declared brazenly. Have you lost your mind? Don't you realize the divorce is finalized? I retorted, incredulous at their audacity and the absurdity of their demands. Their presence in my home, making such outrageous claims, was the last thing I needed after everything that had transpired. I don't owe him anything, I insisted, my voice rising with frustration. Sure, but this sounds like some sort of side deal, right? Frank argued, trying to justify his demand. A side deal? I echoed, incredulous. Yes, he insisted. Jennifer, you've put me through a lot, and I need compensation. You're lucky we aren't taking this to court. Amy nodded in agreement beside him. Yeah, he's been through so much stress because of you. We think $150,000 should cover it. I was stunned by their audacity. A fire ignited within me as I faced them, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. Are you kidding me? Do you really think you deserve compensation for the years I spent trying to make our marriage work? If anything, I'm the one who deserves compensation. I knew Frank was practically broke and had no way to pay me anything, yet here they were, attempting to bully me into giving them money. Refusing to be intimidated, I declared, the whole point of a prenup is to protect my assets. You need to leave my house immediately. But then a plan began to form in my mind, one that would truly shock them. Wait just one moment. Before you go, I need to show you something. My heart pounded in anticipation as I hurried upstairs. When I returned, I held the pregnancy test in my trembling hand. Their eyes widened with shock and disbelief as they saw the positive result. As they passed the tests around, I explained, I threw up last night and decided to take the tests on a whim. The result was unexpected, to say the least. Later today, I have a hospital appointment to determine how far along I am. Frank, Betty, and Amy stood there, jaws practically on the floor, unable to comprehend the twist of fate that had just unfolded before them. You know what, Betty, Amy? Karma is a real piece of work, and I guess the universe decided it was time to bless me. I'm having a baby, but I'm no longer tied to any of you. The baby might be Frank's, but this baby is going to be all mine. I won't change my mind, I declared firmly. Betty and Amy exchanged worried glances before Betty spoke up, her voice tentative. Jennifer, let's not be too hasty. We could work something out and discuss an arrangement. Frank finally found his voice, mumbling incoherent apologies, his eyes brimming with regret. But I wasn't interested in any of it. I had endured enough of their manipulation and toxicity. No more arrangements, no more excuses. Get off my property, all of you, before I call the police. I'm done with this toxic circus, I stated resolutely, my decision. I could feel their desperation to change my mind. But after years of their emotional pressure, I was unwavering. I had built an emotional barrier that wouldn't be easily breached. In our tense standoff, Betty broke the silence, her voice tinged with desperation. Jennifer, you have to understand that we care about this family. We want what's best for you and the baby. Frank may have made mistakes he knew about, by the way, but that's not important right now. He's the father, and he has a right to be in his child's life. Yeah, Jennifer, you know how long we've been waiting for this. We can make this work. Trust me, she continued, trying to persuade me. I sighed, struggling to keep my composure. I understand your concern, but what you fail to grasp is that Frank's actions caused this rift in our marriage. He cheated on me. Betty, you're a smart woman. I'm sure you don't even believe what you're saying. You three are just trying to get into my life to access my money. That's ridiculous. Yes, I agree you're taking this too far, Frank chimed in, his voice shaky. Jennifer, I messed up big time. I regret what I did, and I'm willing to make amends for the sake of our child. Can't we try to work this out? I looked at him, my eyes filled with a mix of anger and sadness. Frank, this isn't just about your infidelity. It's about years of emotional manipulation and pressure from your mother and sister. I've endured so much because of your family, and I can't go back to that toxic environment. Amy tried a different approach, her voice softer, attempting to sound conciliatory. Jennifer, we admit we made mistakes too. We were too pushy, and we're sorry for that. But we only wanted what was best for you, even if we went about it the wrong way. Please, for the sake of the family, reconsider. But I wasn't swayed. Sure, Amy, but it doesn't change what happened. I've made my decision. I want a fresh start for myself and my child, away from the constant pressure and guilt trips. So, thanks, but no thanks. Clearly frustrated, Betty raised her voice. You're being unreasonable, Jennifer. You can't just cut us out like this. I took a deep breath, my patience wearing thin. I can and I will. My priority now is the well-being of my child, I asserted firmly. Their attempts at reconciliation felt shallow, and their motives were transparent. In that moment, I knew I needed to stand strong, not just for myself, but for the future of my child, free from the turmoil and the strings attached by Frank and his family. I've decided not to expose my child to such a toxic environment. You all need to leave. I won't change my mind, I stated, my voice resolute. Amy's eyes filled with tears as her voice trembled. Jennifer, please don't do this. We love you and want to be a part of your life and your baby's life. As I had mentioned before, you can have a relationship with the baby, but I will not compromise my happiness and mental health for anyone. Please, I don't want to repeat myself. I struggled to maintain my calm. Frank, who had been quietly weeping throughout the conversation, finally spoke up, his voice cracking with emotion. Jennifer, please reconsider. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. I'm sorry about those girls. They meant nothing. I looked at him, feeling a pang for the man I once loved. Frank, it's too late for us. But you can still be a good father to our child. Just remember that actions speak louder than words. With that, I turned and walked away, locking the door behind them. Betty, Amy, and Frank stood there, their faces a mix of sadness and regret. It was time to start a new chapter in my life, one where I could breathe freely without the weight of their expectations and demands. Life had indeed taken a turn for the better. I had my beautiful baby girl, the the center of my universe. She was healthy and thriving, a source of immeasurable joy. Each day spent with her filled my heart with love and gratitude. I decided to allow supervised visits with Frank, Betty, and Amy, believing my daughter deserved to know her father and connect with her paternal family. However, I set clear boundaries, expecting them to be respected. Yet every visit seemed to come with the same chorus of pleas and accusations. They insisted I was being selfish for not reuniting with Frank. The pressure and guilt tripping were relentless, wearing down my patience. One day, during another supervised visit, the familiar arguments erupted. Betty and Amy launched into their usual tirade about how I was tearing the family apart, claiming I was depriving my daughter of a complete family and that she deserved to have her parents together. I had had enough. After gently placing my baby girl in her crib, I turned to face them, my voice firm yet weary. "I've been patient," I began, ready to reassert my boundaries and defend the peaceful life I had fought so hard to create for my daughter and myself. I've strived to maintain a civil relationship for the sake of our child, but the constant badgering and shouting are simply unacceptable. When Frank attempted to intervene, saying, "Jennifer, please can't we talk about this?" I firmly shook my head. "No, Frank, this isn't up for debate. I've made my decision, and it's final. I won't tolerate this environment for our daughter." My resolve was clear. Betty and Amy exchanged frustrated glances but continued to argue, accusing me of being rigid and unreasonable. Taking a deep breath, I addressed them sternly. "This is your last warning. If you can't respect my boundaries and continue to pressure me, you won't be allowed to see her anymore. I won't expose her to this toxic behavior." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Frank finally stepped in. "Mom, Amy, please, we need to respect Jennifer's wishes. Our daughter deserves a peaceful and loving environment," he pleaded. Betty and Amy fell silent, their faces reflecting disappointment and resignation. It seemed they finally understood that their constant interference was only pushing them further away from their granddaughter. From that day forward, our visits became more peaceful. While they still harbored hopes for a reunion between Frank and me, they no longer pressed the issue. Although I could tell they were still remorseful, my focus remained elsewhere. I had more important things to prioritize: the well-being and happiness of my daughter, who continued to thrive. She was surrounded by love from people who genuinely cared about her well-being and mine. The change in dynamics allowed us to foster a calmer, more nurturing environment, free from previous tensions and conducive to her growth and happiness.